I am dr.bosskey. I think of myself as a virtual bartender. I like to see the people that come through the door. I like to know what their favorite drink is.
The whale from the village ate cheese whiz from crackers that had perfume.
Perfume, whale cheese crackers.
What's the worst failure you've had, and how did you learn from it?
What's the worst failure I've had and what did I learn from it? Sounds like an interview question, like I'm getting a job. Bryson, what's up with your camera? This is not a hangout as a name in a box podcast. There we go. Beautiful. Not Fresh Pickle says, sorry, I'm never here. I keep missing them. Well, today, Not Fresh Pickle is a early stream, and it's special because we're doing this podcast. It's the What the Hell Are We Doing podcast, starring Nerdy Albert and friends. I'm just the guest. So he can introduce it next time.
He's the very special guest with us.
And better.
Welcome in, guys. Welcome to the What the Hell Are We Doing podcast featuring Nerdy Albert, our co-host Justin, and our temporary co-host Bryson. Today we'll be interviewing DrBossKey, an amazing Twitch streamer from the good old Twitch. And let's bring him in. Welcome in, DrBossKey.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me, everybody. We're also here with Rochelle, my community manager and super mod. She's been with me from almost the very beginning. And also my other super mod, Zarek, who helps me run both my audio production work and my video pipeline, and is just doing our super mod work. So thank you very much for being here.
That's awesome. Thank you for being here. Would you mind just telling the audience who you are, where they can find you and stuff like that? Introduce more of your co-hosts?
Yeah, sure. Will do. So I am DrBossKey. And basically I started streaming in 2018 in November. So we've been just over about 2 years now. So we stream 3 times a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturdays, 8 p.m. PST until about 12 a.m. And, it's our little corner of the world, and we do all kinds of different things. So we're a community-focused streaming experience, meaning that the community is important. I think of myself as a virtual bartender. I like to see the people that come through the door. I like to know what their favorite drink is. I like to just know how they're doing. And we also facilitate what I like to call a lean forward community, because a lot of Twitch has become a lurk culture, which is fine. Lurkers are fine. But that means that when everyone's leaning back and just enjoying, no one is leaning forward to type and share and exchange. So we carry an old brand of Twitch in that respect, where people still try to say hello when new people come in and people that we haven't seen. And just make you feel welcome. It's an important aspect of how we run our show together, and it wouldn't be possible without my super mods. So I guess let me break that up a little bit. So community focused streaming experience. We like to answer questions, have a good time, talk about things. We can go from having poop jokes to talking about like how to have better social reform for education. You never know what you're getting. And I think there's a hunger for that, just being able to mix it up and have good conversations. We're also a streamer-friendly streaming experience. So we care very deeply about our streamer friends, and we like being a crossroads for people to meet each other. And together, as I like to say, we are all one Twitch community. And all the people that put in time, we try to make time for. And so, a lot of streamers aren't like that, but that's not our bag. It's not where we're at. So, and we're not necessarily unique in that. But and I think then the other thing is we play different games, variety of games. There's a lot of chatting and some just chatting, things like that, and straight up shenanigans. But we play games like right now we're playing Watch Dogs Legion. We played the last 2 Watch Dogs games. We beat Sekiro on stream, which was crazy hard. We play old school platforming games like Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, and like Bloodstained, things like that. So when we're not playing games, then the last piece of the show is that we basically have built up a story world for the show, and I call it the DrBossKey universe. One part of me is that I've been a video game developer since 1999, and I primarily am on the production side, but I've produced animation and I've done UX design. I can script. I built like an interactive children's story that I did all with scripting using the Unity 3D engine, for instance, a few years ago. So I've got a nice mixture of things. I don't draw very well, but I really want to direct. So, for instance, in the DrBossKey world, I work with a small team of folks, and I put on my director hat, and we create characters and animations together. And so I do animation as well with visual effects and things like that. So we're, what I basically like the DrBossKey show is just a mixture of all the things I have interests in, all just kind of served up together in terms of experiments, and that becomes the thing that kind of rolls through. I could talk for hours on that, but I think that's kind of what encapsulates it. So Rochelle is, like I mentioned before, she thanks Rochelle. Rochelle is our super mod. So I was crazy enough to do things that other streamers wouldn't be able to do as easily without having to be behind a keyboard. So for instance, one of the things we started a long time ago is if you're going to have a DrBossKey show, then being able to fight boss battles is kind of a thing. So we let all our chatters basically use channel currency. They can wager and they fight the bosses. And the more people that join into the battles, the stronger the bosses are. And so the bosses have like a visual aspect on stream. They have a story. They're part of the DrBossKey world. And for instance, one of the things that we do is with those channel points, we have a secondary type of currency, which is essentially, we call them boons, right? So, and what we've done over the years is we've rolled out experiments that were either really good or they failed. That's why they're experiments. And like for instance, one of the things we like to do is we have this Nord Mead song that we really like to jam out to. We like the right hype videos. We get excited. I recognize that sometimes when you're having a shit day, you just you want to be able to go someplace and have people recognize who you are. And sometimes you want to be able to have something happen that is going to like lift you up, right? So we take about 1 minute and 40 seconds. We get a little crazy. We watch the hype video. We sing along. We bust out emotes. It goes crazy. And I recognize that people sometimes just need that, right? And one of the ways for those people to have agency over the streams, the game developer brain, is to then come in, cash in a boon. And we give boons out for good answers and for people that raid and subscribers. It's all tied into the ecosystem. But Rochelle is referred to as the sexy boon mama. And so you come in, you ring the gong, you choose what you want. You can feed the kitty a treat. And she does all the accounting for that. If I had to do the accounting for that, I would, it would take up a lot of time on the stream and create weird gaps. So she makes it happen. And so there's a lot of things like that where Rochelle just helps keep the glue together. In addition to all of our other things, recognizing people when we raid and when we do our streams. She helps me do lots of our Twitch clips. And we've been doing it together for about 2 years. And the show would not be what it is. And our social presence wouldn't be what it is without her efforts. Rochelle? Now that I made her blush, 17 Ways to Sunday. That's only like.
And then there's a request from Zay. Can I get a woo woo?
Yes, we can get a woo woo.
Well, you want
That's
to woo?
awesome.
It's that woo woo.
All right.
So, yeah. So I am like, hello, I'm Ella Rock. I'm one of the main mods for the DrBossKey show. So, yeah. So mainly I'm tagged as Sexy Bone Mama. I completely forgot how it started. It was actually a joke. Like, it was Bone Mama because I mainly managed the bones, and then we spiced it up, and I said to call me Sexy Bone Mama, and then it stuck.
It kind of stuck after that. Rochelle is salt of the earth. She is wonderful, and we've spent hundreds of hours together. And I think every streamer as they work and pursue their journey, they are often fortunate to meet people that believe in what they're doing, and they want to be part of that. And they generally become the mods and the backbone of Twitch, as Twitch likes to say, right? And recognizing that pretty early in life and being lucky in terms of our streaming community, I've been super fortunate to both have Rochelle contribute and be part of the show, and then grow along with it. So it's been a fantastic journey, and we're just getting started. So
Absolutely.
that's Rochelle. So Oven Feline, or Ella Rock, I guess we should say. So Ella Rock is Rochelle, but Oven Feline is Z or Zarek. So Oven Feline has been with me even before Ella Rock or Rochelle. Not by much, but a little bit. And one of the things that I do that I found that's important, right, is it's nice if as a streamer, if your channel makes money and you can share some of that money that your channel is making with your mods, right? Because I do recognize it's a lot of streamers, they will stream like 10 hours, and sometimes they have these expectations where they're like, you will put your mod ass in the seat and make sure it all happens 10 hours a day. If I'm on the stream, they run it like a militant camp. It's crazy. That's not me. So,
like a dictator.
Yeah, totally. And I've been very lucky, when I work with animators and artists, and I'm in a place right now in my life where this is my hobby, my passion project. Aw. Thank you for that follow, Tapato Reeves. Yeah, Tapato. I've been very lucky. We're still streaming here, but I've been very lucky to both exercise my director hat in terms of making animation and art and animated shorts and these things that we also do that are part of the show. But I'm at a point professionally where I understand that that's work I don't, like managing that is work that I just don't have the time to do. You work a full-time job, you do a stream. Your stream is your part-time gig or full-time, depending on who you are. And, I can't stress how important it is to have someone that can come in and help you just run your admin, right? And so Zarek Oven Feline is very instrumental in helping me run my video editing pipeline. For instance, we have a wonderful video editor, and he one of the things that Zarek is very great at is that he flags the stuff that needs my attention, right? We built this whole thing, we set it up, and then it runs, but it runs because he tends to it day to day, right? He looks for bugs and verifies the content. Where Elrock will do all the scheduling a week at a time for all of our socials. Oven is on the other side, where he's helping me both realize those creative efforts. But then he's got special projects, right? So like the community showcase song that we did, the community hype song, that was him chasing me around as an artist because he's a wonderful musician, and he's been a musician basically his entire life. And I first got to learn about Oven Feline being a musician because he was hanging out in stream. And, basically musicians get drinks. And so he was, he usually shows up a little hungover. Because we're the morning time for his stream. And he was saying that the night before that, he had a bunch of drinks, and then he was literally guitar in hand serenading a woman from her balcony, out on the beach, right? And I was like, oh shit, that's the perfect sort of mental image, right? That's even before I could put face to Z. And, when I was lucky and fortunate enough to meet these folks that wanted to be part of the early part of the community, I identified that they had other talents. And so, being able to both identify, but be able to trust people with those talents. And that's part of my advice to streamers, right? Which is, when you find people that are really into what you're doing with your show, your streaming channel, think about how you want to exchange or trade, right? Like with both Elrock and Z, one of the things that I share with them are all my business acumen and my production aspects and my development skills. It's not all, while there might be some money here and there where we can, there's also a trade. And you should think about that. And when you're small, there are things you can offer to the people around you and the people that you found that are into whatever you're creating. And you can bring them all around bring them along for a ride, for the ride, I should say. Because here's the reality. I don't know anyone that can do it all. Socials, streaming, stream schedule, production, you only have so many hours. And most of the time, people grind so hard when they want to be streamers that they grind themselves into oblivion, and with the dream that they're going to make it and they're going to be big. And look, this is the long game. There's no making it happen overnight. There are some exceptions here and there, right? And you have to think about that. How do you develop a sustainable experience? And so Z and Ella Rock, and also she's watching right now, Zay, these are my core associate producers in gaming world or film. These are people that I've taught my skills to, and then help me basically run these initiatives because I couldn't do this all on my own all the time. Z, you want to add anything to that?
Meow meow. Like I always say during the start of our stream when I come by. Yes, I've been with dr.bosskey since the start. It was really fun to just hang out and explore. He pretty much introduced me to Discord, and now it has become a valuable part of my life. And I've been a cat persona in the online world, which is so awesome because I love them and I love being a part of it. I love being a feline during stream. Pretty much during the process of me watching Shane, DBK, we see a lot of gold moments where you can just capture them, hence the video editing pipeline that he designed and directed. And now we're capturing them and putting them on the map. We're putting them on our socials, and the replay value is just awesome when you watch it again. So if in any case that you guys are streaming too, it's so great if you have something like that where you can capture the gold moments, cut them into a really, really good piece, and then post it online for the world to see. You'll never know. It's so good.
And actually, that was going to be my next. Well, one of my next questions was how long have you guys been with dr.bosskey? But seeing how you guys pretty much answered that from the get-go,
It kind of happens that way.
Yeah, I'm actually going to ask now for Elrock and Oven Feline. How was it working with him from the start till now? Has it changed in better, worse?
For me, it's getting better because during the process is about him passing in his skills to us and us learning. So we feel that we're better today than yesterday. That's what I feel, and I'm really grateful for him to sharing those things because those are priceless. Knowledge is very, very priceless. And when a person is willing to share his skills that he already developed for years and years to you, man, that's just thank you. I'm gonna say thank you to that. Hats off. I don't have one, but
Well, for me, like working with dr.bosskey, like ever since way back, it's like 2 years now. Yeah, almost 2 years, and it is actually a wonderful learning experience. And of course, like everyone is on social media, and I have been on social media before, and I did things like I also have my own page, but
cheer one, 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 cheer one.
Taco man, it's so say.
Our community is popping off right now. It's pretty great.
Hey.
I see you guys out there. Thank you. But feel free to continue, Elrock.
Yeah, and then like ever since I started this the social media campaign, there's a lot more into it. There's a lot more data to learn, and it's there was this time that it was so overwhelming, and I came crying to dr.bosskey. I'm like, there's so many things to learn, and then he was really patient with me, like all the way, and until now, like social media is ever changing. It always continues to change over time, and me and dr.bosskey still continues to improve. So yeah,
that's
it's
amazing.
A never-ending fun experience.
Thank you for that gifted sub. 2 Warrior 76. Sorry. real quick. Jose Alabama, thank you for gifting that sub to Southern Warrior 76. I appreciate you. Yeah, I think that
it looks like you guys are an awesome team, just from the way you guys are with each other, especially when we were talking last night and stuff like that. You guys always had smiles on your face. You guys were always cheerful, especially when talking with each other, helping each other out. If there's something you didn't know, you guys would look it up for each other, stuff like that. And it's just amazing to see because you don't really see much of that, especially on Twitch.
It's hard. I think that's a good point. Our core tenets for our community, right? Because we're all community leaders, and it's not just me. And is that we want to create good vibes. We want to be vibelicious. We want to make sure that while we can deal with heavy things, and sometimes people come in and they've just got heavy things that happen, right? And we can acknowledge that, and then we can work together to create better vibes, right? Just to be positive and optimistic. Long ago, when I was a much younger DrBossKey, I was in my early 20s, I had to deal with issues with rage, right? Like I was a road rage guy, right? Like someone cut me off and I'd like chase them down and I had to deal with those things and learn how to deal with those, becoming a man in my 20s. And, I once had a best friend. We stopped outside of an IHOP, right? And this IHOP is basically in front of this freeway. And so we stop and we're about ready to get our grub on, right? This is great. Like we listen to some good music. We get out of the car, and his name was Tom. And I think it was like close to afternoon. Like the sun was, the sky was gray. There's clouds. The sun was out. And my buddy was feeling really good, right? And he's like, man, this is great. Like we're going to eat this grub food. Awesome, right? And I turn and I look at the freeway and I say without missing a beat, I go, yeah, too bad there's a freeway full of cars in front of us. And then he stopped without even saying anything. He says to me, man, sometimes you're just a real downer. And that was all it took, right? I was like, huh. It's the glass. That's a glass half empty statement for sure. And I realized that even with my best friends, which if you're lucky enough, they can give you that feedback, right? That I was having this impact on them. And that wasn't normally how I felt, but I was moving in that direction, right? If I would have continued making comments and making my observations and always like there could have been something better, then I was going to create, a situation around myself where maybe people didn't want to be part of that, right? And I learned that lesson, fortunately, very early and on in life-ish. And then I reinforced it by practicing and catching myself when I was being negative. I wasn't normally a full negative person. I just was more of a pessimistic person, right? And over time, I was able to interject myself into my own thinking process, and I changed my attitude. I try not to be zippity doodah and rainbows up everyone's asses and unicorn horns, right? But I don't want to be like a Disnoid necessarily. It's fine if you're a Disnoid, no offense. But I realized that there's a way to lift people up and to get people to feel good and to feel good yourself based on, it's like your perception is your reality, right? So what you see in life, if you see it as half empty, you're going to see it as less, always needing more, as opposed to being grateful for what you have. And most people will tell you that practicing an attitude of appreciation, humility, and gratefulness is going to lead to a happier just life for yourself, but also the people around you. So Nerdy, you were going to ask a question about animation?
Yes. Tell us about your show, the one you have with DrBossKey and his condom.
The condom. Condomness. Yeah.
No.
So,
okay. Yeah, you know.
So let's see here. Maybe it's easier to share to show. Can I do that? I can do a share screen real quick, I bet. Here.
Yeah, we can just try that.
All right.
We can do that.
I think we can. All right. Okay. Cool. Let me know if you can see my screen.
You're presenting.
Yeah. Cool. All right. All right. So let's see. So for the folks that don't know what they're seeing right now, this is basically Trello, TRELLO.com. It's free, up to a certain amount of boards. And this is something I use professionally and I use personally. I use Trello to do our video editing processing pipeline. I use it to do art. And one of the things, if you've been on the show before, you've seen this before. So This represents about a years and a half of work. So we always have characters in development, and we have finalized characters. So we have this character. His name is Gondis, and this is basically Gondis. And Gondis on the show is this guy here. I think people can see that, right?
Yeah.
And then also Gondis here. So one of the things that we do, those are animations that we made. One was by me, one was by Zay there. Art is from one of our amazing character artists. Hey, Bryson, thank you for that. Thank you for the follow, and welcome to the Doctorhood. So one of the things that we discovered is I was like, hey, you can't be a hero if you don't have any boss monsters, right? And so, we basically, this is the second boss monster we wound up working on. And so when we develop the characters take about 3 months or so of iteration. We do this part-time. We basically build the character from different angles. It's all 2D. It's got kind of a 3D rendered style to it. And then, we basically flesh out the character's abilities, their backstory, their powers. And it becomes essentially part of the character's, story. And right now, what I've been working on is the Gondis origin story, and it's I can show that a little bit later. It's like a 2-minute thing, but basically, and I don't know how well it won't show well over. It'll show fine on stream, but it'll show terrible over the call, so I won't do that. Unless you guys are fine with that, then I can do that. But basically,
that's fine for on my end.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I guess the thing is that I get these ideas, and I then put together essentially what I call like a character mood board. So there are elements of different characters and things that I like, and like effects, and then I communicate that with that mood board with my artist. And then he goes through and we do a sketching phase, and we go through with colorization, fine tuning the poses. Working on design elements, right? And when we started this character, we, he didn't have this parasitic fairy. Like, it was going to be like this angler cord thing, kind of after like an angler fish. And this is like an elemental rock monster that essentially is the champion for a demonic titan. And the angler cord is very will-o'-the-wisp, right? Where the cord kind of lures you in, and then he's hanging out in the shadows. And then before you know it, it's too late and he's defeated you, right? So, a very cool boss monster. But for instance, when we were jamming on this character, we turned that angler cord into essentially Nada, a parasitic fairy. And so Gondis and this parasitic fairy had this basically like a love relationship that happened. She infused him, but gave him power. And then so we came up with design elements like what you see here, where she's basically nested in his back. And then let me take a look. So I got the other one. And then we also came up with some elements like the angler cord could also hold his, we call it the mammer. So we create the weapon, we create the character, we create the backstory. And then part of creating that backstory then becomes the next step for us, which is essentially doing an animated short. So I can give you a sense for that real quick here if you guys want to see that. So... But we've been working on this particular animated short now for probably 7 months or so. And they're a lot of fun to do, but they're really slow and time consuming to do. And we're still working on new processes to I think to do that. But this time around, unlike our first animated short that we did for Karakus, and by the way, this is Karakus here, the main difference is that we did a different motion graphic style and effects. We didn't even have a finished DrBossKey for the Karakus animated short, but it still told the origin story of Karakus. And so this time around, we basically took the challenge of doing matte paintings and then doing animation on top of those matte paintings. Oh, I don't want that. And here is where we're at with that right now. Let me turn down the music. So a couple caveats. This is a work in progress. All the animation is done by me in this particular case. The art comes from our basically character animator. His name's Dimitri. He's
Just a
also
quick question. How long does it actually take you, like a week, a month, to finish these characters?
so the characters probably take, if we're working on them full time, we probably finish them in 2 to 3 weeks. But because we do them part time and we have a time delay and it's part time, it takes much longer to do the revisions. So we basically do we do 2 or 3 revisions a week. And sometimes when you develop the initial character and you're looking for these elements, what happens is that it doesn't quite sit right, or you don't get the pose correct, or you're still working on aspects, right? And so part of that iterative process is also refining aspects of the character, right? Like when we started Gondis, and then as we worked through the sketching of Gondis, discovering that Gondis could have like a parasitic fairy as part of his like origin story and who he is. That totally came out of just us doing the sketching process. So some of the times it helps with ideation too. Okay. Anything else before I show?
No, that's all.
Okay, cool. So this is basically the first 2 scenes of the Gondis animated short, which is about his backstory. There's no sound effect design right now. The music is temporary, but for the most part, all the effects and things. There's a few things I'm going to clean up, but that's kind of where we're at. So, let me quickly take a look at my reference monitor too, so I can see it. 1 second. Here we go.
Srevis, a mighty titan, was defeated long ago. Forced into slumber, his body became a sleeping mountain. His veins and organs became subterranean structures. His dark soul fed and fueled his followers with ancient magical secrets. Whispering from his dreams, he lured those seeking power into generational servitude. In his name, a vast undermountain city rose and fell to serve his awakening. This world will once again become my playground. I will see it broken, and from the pieces I will suck out its succulent life force. Srevis' worshippers, suckling from his essence, grew in strength, giving birth to the creation of Gondis, guardian of the dark wellspring.
And then here comes, I get to do basically a ritual spell.
The 6 magi of Srevis, tuned to the demonic titan's essence, worked to shape Gondis from the lost elemental magics, giving life to Gondis by transmuting demonic essence into the inanimate. The champion of Srevis was born. Gondis, you exist to guard this dark wellspring until the return of the Almighty. Many will be drawn here to stop our master, and you will add them to our growing power.
Yeah, so that's something else we do on the show, and it's, like I said, the DrBossKey show essentially. Let me stop presenting here. Bloop, bloop, there we go. Yeah, the DrBossKey show
I like the way.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. All right. So I like the way that you went from blue to black to light blue. I just like the transition. It was just very clean.
Oh, cool. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but one thing is true is that I'm, anytime you start something creatively, part of the journey is learning both process and discovering, right? So, and it's been super fun. I think, basically I don't know anyone that has an imagination that wouldn't want to see that imagination come to life, right? And a lot of people are stifled because they don't have the best art skills, or they don't have the best, voice acting. They don't have the best sound design, right? And they have an idea of what they want, but they feel like technically they can't achieve it. And so the next step for that is that if you can't achieve it by yourself, then you have to collaborate with others to help you realize that vision, right? So this is me essentially basically scratching my director itch, right? And we're still developing a new style and process for the whole thing. So it's been a ton of fun, but it's also a boatload of work. And once I realized that I had this great, crazy epiphany, right? Which is once we started building these things, basically giving the characters presence in the DrBossKey show. So like Gondas is there and Srivis, right? Like, so, and they actually wind up becoming emotes on the show and for Discord and little animations. I call them fun buttons, right? So like you can have, your Gondases like running around, going crazy, and doing things. It became an epiphany for me in particular because the DrBossKey world is just that. And basically the Twitch show is the window into that world that we all get to peek through.
Absolutely.
Awesome. That's absolutely
awesome.
amazing. So your next question would be, what was it like working on Star Wars games, the original versions of Battlefront 1
and he's lagging.
He's lagging a little bit. Yeah, so Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2. Yeah. So for those that you don't know, like I said, I got started in the game industry in 1999, and I got started in QA. And I was very, very fortunate to work at LucasArts. And at that time, working at LucasArts meant that QA teams would often they would be embedded. They would work with the development teams. Sometimes almost up to a year or more out from when the game was going to be released. So as we all know, games come together over lots of years, and they take time and iteration. And sometimes when you think you're going to finish isn't always when you finish, right? So I've been a gamer my entire life, and I was very, very fortunate to have a mom. I mean, this is back. I was born in '77, so. I had a mom that was into basically gaming and like VHS and movies, and we basically bonded around that, right? So she was some of my first experiences into gaming and playing games together with someone that I loved, right? And throughout that, I never thought I would be good enough to get into games. I was like, oh, games were like this thing I put way above in this very referential kind of way. Above me. And so when it came around to 1999, I basically had a friend that joined, and we both came from the optometry field. I ran a lab basically making eyeglasses, and I got a little bored because once you kind of figure out all the things, you're like, okay, and now it's almost like an autopilot, even though there's some basic math and things put together. But anyways, so he joined. They had an opening for a tester, and I was like, okay, don't blow this. Like, don't be too excited. So I went and I did that, and I was very passionate about games, could talk knowledgeable about games. I've always owned basically every console that's ever come out. I played games my whole life. So the education is kind of crazy. As a matter of fact, and I'll get back to this, but so my username, the stream channel name, DrBossKey. So basically, Doctor is because I used to work in an arcade, or I'd go and I'd play in arcades. And back in the day, when you achieved high scores, you would put your initials on the leaderboard, right? And my initials are boring, CGH. They don't really mean anything. So instead, I changed my initials for leaderboards to DOC for my assumed doctrine in video games, which is silly because nothing really exists. I was like, and I got to be like DOC in that case. So, so I joined, and then basically I was very humbled to meet lots of people that were, doing the thing I always dreamed about. I'd love to make video games, and being able to take an opportunity to be at the bottom of the ladder, the right ladder, and to work your way up from there was huge. And so I worked on lots of Star Wars games. I worked on a lot of shitty Star Wars games too. Like, hopefully no one here has ever played Super Bombad Racing, but it was basically Lucas Learning's attempt to do a Mario Kart. And they, it's like when you look at a game, you're like, oh, it's cute little cartoon characters, and then they have little small cars and they race around in tracks. We can do that, right? And you're like, yeah, but Mario Kart is brilliant because of these things, the way these systems work together, and this is the way the controls work, and this is the way you work together. And they never, like, if everyone could make a AAA amazing game, they would, right? So I worked on a lot of like the games would probably be like you get the Star Wars tax, right? So if you work on a Star Wars game, you automatically get like 2 points that you wouldn't get normally just because of the IP. So if you're working on a game and it's like it's a 5 out of 10, you're going to get a 7, right? If it's a 7, you're going to get like a 9 because you get the Star Wars bump, right? For the most part, it's not always the way it goes. So, but one of the games that I did work on while I was at LucasArts as a senior lead tester, I worked on the original Star Wars Battlefront. And Star Wars Battlefront, this is the OG version. So this is PlayStation 2, Xbox, PC, right? There we worked with Pandemic Games. So we were the QA team, and the game was really in rough shape. The tech was coming online late. Like we didn't have fully fleshed out designs. And one of the things that happened during development that I really appreciated in some ways is that when we were getting closer and closer to shipping the game, one of the things that the company did is they always said, I always had a seat at the table with all the execs, and they would say, is this game quality? Is this game going to be great? And then I would do my due diligence and give them the best, assessment. And when you get close to something, it's very hard perception wise to really understand, is it going to be a great game or not? Because you're doing it day in and day out, right? I was working 80 hours a week for, basically 6-7 months on this game. And that's where a lot of my 20s went into game development, right? And
quick question. Did you like meet any good developers that helped you along the way to enhance your experience in your career of development?
Absolutely. I can't really talk about them, but this is maybe the truth behind it, right? Which is when you meet talented. Here's the thing. This is the advice, right? If you want to go and be best in class in something, you need to find the people that are best in class and you need to hang out with them. There is no better education. If you are passionate about whatever it is you're passionate about and you want to pursue it and become a professional and become best in class, you have to find the people you admire, the people that are kicking ass at the level that you want to be at, and then you have to go be of service to these people. You can't just be like, oh, gimme. That doesn't work anywhere. It has to be, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? Because by being around you, I'm going to learn at an accelerated rate that I maybe would never have the opportunity to learn. When you go to, though that the saying is, those who can do, those who can't teach, right? So you think about this, you go to college, you learn game design, and then it turns out game design now is antiquated because it's a curriculum from half a decade ago. It's just the way things go. Tech changes, things change, right? So the short answer is yes, nerdy. I'm from programmers. I would not be who I am with the interests that I have, with the technical chops that I have, had I not been able to spend a large portion of my career with people that I consider best in class. And it's been one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And I am so grateful and fortunate for having had these people in my life, both personally as friendships and professionally, of course, obviously as well too. Yeah. So Battlefront. Basically, the short version of that is that cracked out the game. The game was in dire straits. Every side was the same as every other side, so it didn't matter who you were playing. A grenade launcher was a grenade launcher. A rocket launcher was a rocket launcher. And it was boring. It was just cookie cutters, right? And a little bit of differentiation with the fact that you had the hero classes, the Vader, there you couldn't make everyone the same. Everyone gets a lightsaber. Okay, fair enough. In some cases. But you couldn't make everyone the same there because they already had the canon. They had the abilities, of course, that come with being, Jedi or Sith, etc. So I seeing this coming, being 4 or 5 months out, I basically I sat down and I was playing a boatload of PlanetSide at that point. PlanetSide is a massive action game by Sony Online Entertainment. It's a different company now for PlanetSide 2. But it's the biggest game and closest to a war in a sci-fi universe that you can ever get to. Like, you could be drawing a squad of tanks and aircraft are coming by and infantry are there and you're fighting. It was amazing, like mind blowing. I played it with one of my best friends for a long time, played it for years, and it really it inspired me. And so with Battlefront, I was like, okay, cool. We've got basically cookie cutter sides. Each side needs to have their own thing that is different, even though it's the same type of weapon. So like if it's a rocket launcher, this rocket launcher is a single dumbfire rocket that that does a lot of damage. This rocket launcher does like a spread shot, and you get multiple, you get less damage, but you get a bigger spread. So it's better in some cases, in some scenarios than other. This one is, this one's got homing missiles, that type of thing. So I went through and wrote basically a 2-page document in succinct bullets, and I said, all right, we need to create variety so that when people play each of the sides, they have something to argue about. If you can't argue about the fact that, like the Empire is better because they have this awesome grenade launcher that works great when you're trying to take this point, you're missing the core piece of game design. You can always tweak the numbers and stuff later to try to rebalance it, but if you don't have something that's actually gameplay different, to really like figure out what your own style is and how to play with things, then you're missing I think the true core of what makes games really great, right? I mean, and it's like I played a boatload of Call of Duty, and one of the things that Call of Duty is fantastic about, right, is that within one match, doesn't matter what game type I'm playing, I can change classes. I can run and gun, I can rocket launch, I can like assault rifle, I can snipe, I can special ops. There are all these things I can just quickly, rapidly go through, and that's one of the core things that I think Call of Duty does really, really great, right? So I've been a student of games, play games all the time still, and I've been very fortunate to try to learn those lessons and apply those to any of the work that I've done. And luckily for me, Battlefront, Battlefront was one of the best performing games that LucasArts had ever published, and it was great to be part of a successful project and to have a really deep, hands-on, I think, contribution to the game itself.
Have you done any music or animations lately?
So the animation I just pointed out with the Gondas animated short is that. But on the music side, so not long ago, probably about 6 weeks ago, Zarek, Z, Oven Feline, basically, we've been jamming on some down-tempo chill music for a while. I really, that's a kind of genre of music that I really like. And he surprised me by basically giving me this track. He's like, hey, I'm working on this track. What do you think? And we hadn't really named it. It was like Vibes or something like that. So I listened to it. And I was like, ooh, this is really good. And so what we did is I wanted to surprise him because, like I said, Z did basically our community hype song. He does different types of music, and like while he does these things, I have to chase him to finish them a lot of times. So hence the producer in me. So I wanted to surprise him and turn it around. So what I did is I took the track because it sounded really great, and I challenged myself to do basically a 2 hour, or not 2 hours, sorry, to do within 2 hours. I gave myself a 2 hour time limit to essentially put together kind of a music video. And I wasn't sure what we were going to do with this. So I put together a quick music video surrounding this thing with the track. We uploaded it to YouTube, and then I've been experimenting on the show with DBK originals and things like this. Like we have this plan that we might be doing an album at some point, maybe like a down-tempo chill album, right? Basically now when people rate us, and people can request here and there, but when people rate us, sometimes I pull this out, and we name the track Don't Forget Chill Vibes. And so what it has now become is people come and rate us. We turn on this music video, which then has the spoken word thing that inspired Z to do the music in the first place. And then now I can freestyle riff on top of this track. So it's this whole thing where we created it, we created it offline, but now we kind of we remix it live in some ways. Like we're creating something new based on this as a template. And so far it's been doing really well. People seem to really enjoy it. It's nice because in the Dr. Bosskey show, you can go crazy hype, you can go super vibalicious, you can have great conversations. It's just a nice mixture of things. If you guys want, I can pull it out and share it with you. But it's up to you. You'd have to see it on the stream side.
While you're pulling it out, I want to tell you the story on how I got to create this as well. Because as I'm reviewing some of the videos that or past streams that Dr. Bosskey has, this come up as one of those really, really good conversations with the community, and I was inspired to integrate what Dr. Bosskey was saying on that lo-fi song, which is really meaningful. So it was really good, and it was perfect for the song. That's why.
So what do you say, Nerdy? Do you want me to play it? We can move on
Go
too.
ahead.
Yeah, you're the one controlling the show, so.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just getting the guest ready. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So then what I'll do is you guys can tune into you can mute yourself on the call here and then listen to the stream. So that way you get the full thing there. So basically this is it. This is the version. And let's do this here.
My opinion, this is the best song from your whole stream.
I appreciate that. Let's see.
So don't forget to hunt down and seek out new experiences. So don't forget to hunt down and seek out new experiences.
Here we are now, face to face now, hanging out with Nerdy Albert and his friend just Reno, yeah. Mr. Bryson, thank you, my friends.
It's good to like the things you like. Double down on them sometimes. Love them. Or dive deeper into them. The stuff that you didn't like, don't hate it forever. Every once in a while, just test it. Just to see.
You gotta try and try. Don't deny yourself pleasures you've forgotten that you didn't like. It's okay, yeah. Change your mind. The opportunity is
so don't forget
ahead.
To hunt down and seek out new experiences. But count the experiences you can have yourself. Don't forget. Don't forget. Don't forget. So don't forget to hunt down and seek out new experiences.
In the DrBossKey world, you please. Don't worry, you might run back towards we, my friendos. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think let me add our guest viewer there. I think as a content creator, right? Like I was like, oh, I don't know about content creators. Back in the day, it was like, oh, you play video games and that's the way of creating content. I was like, oh, I guess like anyone can play video games. And then I think one of the things I've learned, right, is that when you start to think about things deeply and you're interacting with whatever medium you're interacting with, you find opportunities and find yourself creating things that you wouldn't expect. They just become inspirations, and that's one of those cases where truly that was a collaboration between myself and Z, and it actually found a way into the show that I am really, really happy with. It's one of the nice new experiments that we've done, and it'll probably make its way into like things people can request and I think just be part of. Hey, Johnny, how's it going? Yeah. All right, what's next?
Well, first let's take a little 2-minute break and introduce Johnny as our guest, and he might have some questions for you.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Johnny.
Everything's going good. I just got my computer finally working. Okay, there we go. This computer is garbage, bro. Like, hold on. This laptop, I literally have to do surgery on it just to get it to charge. It's bad.
Oh man. Well, the fact that you've resuscitated is a good thing. So
yeah, I got to work in again. And finally, it took a few minutes to finally get it charging. So how was everyone? You guys good?
Doing good.
Yeah, doing great. Hanging out, having a good time. This is quite a bit in the I think in the making. Do you have any questions? Anything specific I can answer?
Not really. I mean,
DrBossKey is a streamer, a Twitch streamer. He does animations, short videos, and other amazing content. So yeah, make sure we'll give you time to think about a question. For now, we'll move on to Justin. Go ahead and ask your question.
All right. So, are there any future projects that you guys are working on that we should know about that are coming up in the future?
Yeah, the answer is yes. Let me take a question from our chat here. So, Germaniers says, "Hello, DrBossKey. This is for the chat. Is it annoying when you stream and you only get one viewer, even though you have like 21 followers? And that is another sad thing in my life." Well, so thank you for the question. So yeah, I mean, look, I know people like to say this, and it is true. When you stream, you have to first think about, okay, what is it that you want to do with streaming, right? What's your core driver? If you tie your core drive to needing people to be there all the time, you're going to be disappointed, especially as you grow, because it takes it. This didn't happen overnight for me either. Like, it takes time to to develop your own skills and develop the thing that makes you a streamer that people want to spend more time with, right? Like, I like to say a couple things, right? So one is work on getting your internal monologue on point, your external monologue on point, right? The things that you would normally think internally, now you need to externalize, right? And you need to be rolling this all the time, because if a viewer jumps into your stream, one, your Twitch numbers aren't always accurate. So by the time it shows up that they were there, they might have already left. So you have to always be on point, right? So you should always be talking about the game, commenting, sharing a story, just being in a place where you're not relying on chat, because when chat does show up, then you have that plus chat, and that becomes something that grows on its own. And but that's a very specific skill that you want to work on, right? And the second piece of that too is, man, you got 21 follows. That is awesome. Guess what? You're only going to go up from there. You just keep working at it, right? You always have to stream as if people are going to show up. If you get disappointed and feel frustrated that people aren't there and that you only have one viewer, I would encourage you to step back. Remember to be grateful. One viewer is amazing. 0 viewers is amazing, right? Like, you're doing it. You're making the appointment. You're showing up. You're producing a show. You are trying to give an opportunity for people to discover you. It all takes time. And the more consistent you are in producing that content, and the more you don't stress about the numbers, it'll happen over time. But you have to always be in this pattern of watch all of your VODs, especially when you're new. Like, you finish a show, next day, part of your routine before you stream again should be watch that show, take notes. Where did you get really silent? Where did you grumble a lot, not say anything? Where did you cry? What did you talk about? Did you talk about anything? Did someone show up and chat and you missed the chat because you're not used to looking at chat all the time, and then they were gone before you actually got to interact? So these are all things you should be like critiquing yourself over. And then those become your notes for improving for your next show. The last piece of that I would encourage you to do, right, is put yourself in the mindset that you want to have for your viewers, right? What type of viewers do you want in your chat? And make it take the opportunity to essentially become that viewer. Do you want to be a lean forward chatter? Do you want to talk about stories? Do you want to ask good questions? One of the things that I personally do, right, is especially when I raid, this is kind of our secret sauce, but whenever I pop out of the lurk and spend time in any of my streaming friends' channels, I always remember in the back of my mind that by writing something into chat and them reading out loud, we are creating content together. By doing something silly, a dad joke, a tickle, encouraging chat to speak up and talk about things, to get a quick census on people are feeling, right? Like, show up, be present, and be the type of viewer you would love to have in your chat, because you are the leader of your community, and people they're going to take their cues from your behaviors. And until you really get those in mind for the type of viewer you want to be, the kind of stream you want to create, you're going to have issues getting frustrated about the amount of viewers or not, and the amount of follows. You're on the right track. Just keep going.
Another question for you, Dr. Bosskey. What inspired you to stream on Twitch?
Good question. So real quick, I'll step back to Justin. So Justin, yeah. So upcoming projects, we're gonna finish the Gondis animated short. So that's probably another few months for sure. Z and I are still, Evan Feline and I are still collaborating on new tracks. We're thinking about putting together, like I said, a DrBossKey album. So that'd be kind of pretty dope, I think. And I want to do some more collabs in that don't forget chill vibes kind of space. We've got more characters in the universe that we basically want to start sketching out. So that's pretty huge. We're gonna finish. So we have Loki, our little stream queen. Let me put her back on screen. And this is her. This is her animated sidekick version. And so we're working on her combat super attack, right? Because her and DrBossKey get into it. That's the way my stories go. And he defeats Loki, and then Loki becomes his sidekick, right? But she's pretty badass, so we're gonna have that kind of show up. So a good example of that is like, here's DrBossKey fighting Karakus, right? And then other projects. Look, we're gonna finish Watch Dogs Legion. That's gonna be fun. We're gonna play some new games on stream. I think coming up, which will be pretty fun, I think, to do. And then I think part of it too is just finding more time and opportunity to create content and try new experiments. Sometimes it's very impromptu. I have this idea in the back of my brain that I've been working on where I want to I've been a dungeon master for a long time in D&D, mostly in Forgotten Realms. And one of the things I like doing is I like to role play with people, right? So I want to basically turn what we call action text. It's / me and then your text, and that text is in the color of your name. We created this like 2 years ago, and I think Zay was one of the reasons why we created this. And I call it action text because it's like, if you've ever played D&D, you're describing in text an action, a thing you're doing. You can do an action and say a thing, but instead of just chatting, it gives you the ability to, essentially say things like, I run into the lurk, leap over the bush, and wag my tail, before rolling out, something like that. It just gives people the opportunity to envision things. I like to also do silly things like, holds Nerdy Albert high above head for everyone to see, and then in parentheses, I like to say, cue the Zelda Discovery music here, and now everyone in the brand's going doo 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 doo, like with Nerdy Albert high, like. It's just straight silliness, and what I want to do is bring that back to essentially a file with 20, 30 of these types of things, with the opportunity to then pick a user at random and then feed them an action line text like, DrBossKey places a furry little dragon in front of Nerdy Albert's feet, right? And then say, what is Nerdy Albert going to do with that? And then Nerdy Albert now has the opportunity to react, right? Like he can be like, oh shit, I'm going to put a collar on the furry dragon and walk it around through chat. And then I'm going to read that out loud, of course. And then I'm going to say, damn, the furry dragon didn't like being collared. And as a result, it starts belching little fireballs under Nerdy Albert's feet. And then Nerdy Albert says, he's like, oh shit, now I'm dancing on the fireballs, and the fireballs go everywhere. And chat's now all of a sudden dancing on a bunch of furry dragon fireballs everywhere. And then we just have shenanigans, right? Like, so little things. So there you go. So those are upcoming projects. So Nerdy, what was your question again?
What inspired you to stream on Twitch?
Oh, what inspired me to stream on Twitch? Yeah, so all right. Just over 2 years ago, I had finished essentially a job, a big contract. And then I had a chunk of time off. Like I had like 3 or 4 or 5 months off between like gigs, great grandpappy Jay, thank you for that follow. And so during this period of time, I was like, okay, cool. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with my time? Right. Like as much as I wanted to play video games the whole time and just do shenanigans, I decided to challenge myself and to get serious about learning how to make alternate income streams, because maybe I wasn't going to go back to another gig after that. Maybe I wanted to do something different. And so I took the opportunity to really dig deep into like internet marketing. What? Oh my God. Hang on, guys. Red Baron's going crazy. Red Baron gifting 5 subs to the community. Thank you so much, my friendo. So, little pro tip. When I had a really hard time knowing when someone resubscribed or subscribed and then also was gifting a sub. So sometimes I thought like I missed a gift sub. And here's your pro tip. Make your gift sub sound effect different than your regular sub sound effect. And so now you always know when that different sound effect. For me, it's it's Pac-Man in that case, right? So I know that those are gifted subs, and so it gives me an audio cue. So even if I miss it in chat, I know what's happened, and I can immediately look and respond to it. So little shorthand things like this are things you didn't expect to, I wouldn't have ever expected to learn without experience. It's very, very kind of you. Thank you so much, Red Baron. If you got a gifted sub, please thank Red Baron. And welcome to the Doctorhood. If this is a multi-month sub for you, welcome back. So there I was, right? And I wanted to learn how to sell things online. And here's the thing is I fucking hate marketing, right? Like I grew up in an era where I would see the car commercial and the bikinis and the beer and all this. Like I just turned the music, I turned the audio off on the TV, and I'd watch these commercials. And I've always been the kind of person that wants to look a little bit further behind the curtain. And it's like basically all these companies are telling me that if I buy their car, I'm going to getting sex, or if I go and drink this beer, we're going to have lots of good parties, right? Like, and they were projecting a lifestyle and visuals that that were part of marketing and advertising at that point, right? And I always felt that was disingenuous because that wasn't generally the way real life worked, right? Even being just a kid. And so I also had all these pretenses about what it meant to be a salesman, to sell anything, right? And images of like the smarmy cars salesman, right? Like, buy my lemon, this shit's falling apart. It's been in 17 wrecks, but we got Bondo to protect it, right? Like, just get it off the lot so you can't bring it back, right? Like, and it took me a while. So I took on education. They call it full stack university at this point. But basically, I learned how to automate and develop a real, I think, salesman acumen. And in this particular case, it was about selling through storytelling. And the short version of it is that I had to figure out and get right with the idea of what it means to sell. And for me, some of the best sales people are people that are serving what they sell, right? So you're selling good products, you're selling good services. You've done research to understand problems that people are having, and then you're giving them the opportunity to have solutions to those problems, right? You still have to have the right attitude about it, but and then the other side of that is that interacting with the products, understanding with that, and being able to tell just stories. And so while I was doing this, I was building up my coaching business and my basically online marketing, and I was learning to like write Facebook ads and how to ad test and split test and test marketing copy and test different images, because a lot of that is you're trying to find the stuff that works. And then when you find the thing that works, then you turn up the amount of money you spend on your ad, because you have an idea of engagement and then how many people are going to convert from the sale. And then you can go to your next product, support those products, run a different advertising campaign, all boring stuff. But I learned a boatload of stuff, got to change my perception there. And while I was doing this, I had a Facebook coaching page, part of my business. And then I would get a lot of contacts for people that would see me, because, that was the other thing, is that, sell something, like, if you're trying to sell something you don't know, people are going to see through that, right? So what do I know? I know games. I know hardcore gaming culture. I know, what it's like to be a gamer, being a lifelong gamer. And so the stories I told about the products and services I were offering were from a gamer's perspective, right? And so I would get a lot of contacts with people wanting to know how to stream. And I'd known about Twitch streaming before. Let me get some water here. And pardon me, dry throat. Stories are like that. Much better. So, yeah, so basically, the contacts I was getting on my Facebook page were more often than not, every week I was getting like a few questions about like, hey, I'd like to get into streaming video games. Is there a way I could do that? Hey, I want to be popular on Twitch. How do I do that? And a lot of those were just easy softball questions, and I would give them resources. But then I started digging a little bit. I'd known about Twitch streaming. I did some stuff with Twitch, like 2014, 2015, something like that. Nothing, it was more for business at that point, but I'd learned a little bit, so I knew. And I was also familiar with influencers and influencing and telling stories, right? So there was that side of it too, from the marketing side and the storytelling side of just marketing. And basically, I said, fuck it. I'm getting all these contacts. Why don't I go and take the next level and dive into hands-on Twitch streaming? So, and I got on the journey, right? I started working on the gear. I went with Streamlabs OBS, looking at stuff and I started just learning a lot more than what I was able to offer previously. And as a result, I basically kind of fell into the Twitch hole. I mean, I love games. I was like, oh, cool. Like Twitch streaming became more and more comfortable for me. I mean, when I first started, I did the same thing everyone did, right? Like I fell into the 7-day-a-week hole. Like I was streaming 8 to 10 hours a day, sometimes more, like I was really getting into it. Right. And then, so I started to pull back and learn things from that. And, basically, that's how I got into Twitch, because I wanted to be of more service to folks that wanted to learn how to be Twitch streamers or online influencers. Right. It's all work at the end of the day.
Am I back? Yeah, I'm back. Yes, let's go back to our challenge. Impression challenge. Impersonation challenge. I don't know.
You want to do an
impression challenge.
Okay.
Yes, impression. What? I don't know, Mr. Bean, for example. It's a good impression you could do.
I don't have Mr. Bean in my head. I thought what you wanted to do was the silly voice challenge.
Yes, that's
okay.
The second part.
Oh, it's the second part.
Yes.
If you got a Mr. Bean impression, hit me. I'm happy to hear it.
I don't. Justin, do you have anything to bring to the table?
Not really.
All right.
In terms of impressions. I mean, everyone's heard Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, let me hear your Arnie. Like everyone's got an Arnie.
Yeah.
Come on, let me hear your Arnie, Justin.
Get to the chopper.
Yeah, that's the Albert version.
Justin.
That's from Total Recall. That bastard Goegan, he's got all over.
Come on, get to the chopper now.
Pretty much.
Get to the chopper.
Do flowers grow around here?
Put the cookie down.
Stop it! Stop it! Miss Kitty's like, what's going on? What's going on? Arnie impressions mean treats. What's next?
Next, let's move on to our quick questions.
Stop it.
Let's see. So, what's more something that people misunderstand about DrBossKey and the character you bring to our amazing viewers?
Sure. So me as a person, so what my friends describe me after watching my show, they're like, oh, it's you, but you're turned up to 11. You're a little bit bigger, a little bit louder, right? And the thing is I'm already, especially when I was younger and I got excited about things, still get excited about things. I will until I'm dead, I'm sure. But when I got passionate about stuff, my voice would raise. I would get excited. I would speak very rapidly. And I never knew anything different. It was just part of my behaviors. And I had friends around me that were similar. So we would just amplify each other, right? Like you are kind of a combination of your 5 closest friends, and it's a good thing, but that means that our behaviors that we develop sometimes, are developed in these kind of bubbles. And then when you spend time with other people, burn venom. Sorry. 1 second. Thank you for that gifted sub to Ram Davis. Thank you very much. And so what happens in that case is that when you go and you introduce basically yourself to other groups of people, professionally, personally, there are perceptions, right? That come from that. And so I often, people would say that I was really loud, like, in that they thought that I was being loud so I could be dominant, like more aggressive. I'm not a very aggressive person. I do love logic. I was very much like, okay, cool. You believe this, I believe this. Let's have a spirited, logical debate about this and get to the truth. Not everyone's into that shit. Like, people are just like, whatever, I don't have time for this, right? So one of the perceptions about me that people had was that I was trying to be extra loud and boisterous to compensate for I don't know, just to compensate, I guess. It was, it was a misunderstanding, right? So that people would think that by being loud, I was trying to be aggressive and dominant, and that I was trying to compensate for not feeling like I was being aggressive and dominant. Furthest thing from the truth, but the thing is if you're very lucky to be in a place in life where someone will at least tell you these types of things, regardless if they're true or not, the reality is that it's a perception. Perception is reality, and at the end of the day, it almost doesn't matter what the thinking was. No one's in your brain; they don't know. And as a result, I was able to grow from some of these. I've been a lead of people and management for a long time as well. After time, right? So like I also coach folks and coach for improvement and coach people through their own goals and things like that, right? So, but it was really interesting. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're just super loud and kind of aggressive because you're compensating for for not feeling like you're heard." And so I took that, and over time I was like, "Oh, well, one." When you learn to speak about different things, and this is all a craft, we all open our mouth and words come out, right? So you can speak slowly. You can let space show up between your words. That brings people forward. You can be excited and maybe have a loud, like, wow, that's freaking amazing. You get excited, like really kind of bring the energy, but then you can transfer that. What do you think's going on right now? You were super excited. They then have an opportunity to be themselves in the space you've created. Because if you're just excited about something and then you steamroll everyone, then no one feels like they're getting listened to. And if you want to work with people, you need to give people opportunity and time to be themselves, right? So I learned so many different things about how you express yourself, how you think about things, and how you interact with other people. And look, I don't have it all figured out. There's still a piece of me that's probably going to go and take like a vocal coaching session, or a voice acting session, or maybe just maybe some public speaking. Like, there's so many things that we can work on just being ourselves. And unless we have those perceptions that come out and things that people are willing to share with you, you don't have the opportunity to change them as much as you'd like. Make sense?
Totally makes sense. So yeah, Justin, go ahead.
All right. So, quick question. What is the best moment that you've had on stream?
Best moment. Oh, there's so many good moments. Okay, there's two, and I'll try to be quick about these. So, was it last year? I think it was the year before. So we played through RDR2, Red Dead Redemption 2. And I played through with a lot of folks here. And, when I came to streaming, you can intellectualize that you're gonna get the W, you're gonna have a win, everyone's gonna get excited, right? You're gonna have emotion. And as a streamer, you are kind of like a filter for the experience that your audience is watching, right? Like how you experience it. Like, people are there for you and kind of your commentary on it, right? Or your reactions. And intellectually, I knew that I'd have emotional responses, but, and I won't spoil anything here, but as you play through Red Dead Redemption 2, especially when you get to towards, they do it very cleverly, but there are key points in the game that are really like tearjerker moments. They're mastercraft experiences. Like, stuff happens and you're like, whoa, this really just kind of, like really gets to you, right? So there I am, and we're getting to one of these moments, and I'm just like, I'm there, I'm in the pocket, like I'm in the game. We're thinking like it's single player. The stuff is going down. The music comes up. It's just pulling all of my heartstrings, right? And I have a cry. I'm a modern man in this respect. Brought up more like a 1950s man, but emotion's an important thing. And I've got I'm trying not to get my like, oh my god, I'm crying savagely face, my ugly cat cry, like cry face. I'm trying my best. I got the quivery chin, the lip. The tears are coming down the cheeks, and I'm having a stoic cry, right? And I'm having this vulnerable moment with 40 viewers, like people are whispering on the side, and they're like, we're right there with you, man, this is crazy, right? Like it was so intense, and it rocked me. I was like, holy shit, this was like masterclass level craft level art. The game is phenomenal, and I had this meta experience because we played through the whole game up to that point as well with my viewers and our community. And I thought about that experience. I shared it with some of my close friends. It really blew my mind. For like 2 weeks, I told my dad about it because he's a cowboy, and I almost cried again thinking about it, right? And I was like, man, like when you're a streamer, the more like this is the turned up to 11 version of me, right? But I'm still me. And the more that you can dial into just being the humility, the humble self of you and sharing that with people, the stronger the connections get, and the quite honestly, the better the memories are. I never thought I'd be doing it, and it was really kind of scary. I was like, damn, I'm doing this with kind of strangers. Anyone could be watching right now. And it was mind-blowing on so many levels to be vulnerable like that in my element, on my show, doing these things with my friends and people I didn't even know at that point, right? So that was like a mind-bending experience, both emotionally, intellectually, and also just what it meant to be like. This is also what it means to be a streamer. People are there for you, and the way your outlook, your perception, your comedy. We're all like streaming is like opening the door to your front room and saying, hey, anybody, come on in, sit on my couch. Like, let's just hang out. Like, this is the way we did it back in the day, right? And, that means being your authentic self, and that's really hard to get to. It's hard to be vulnerable like that. So that is definitely one of the big experiences. Any questions before I talk about the second one? All right. So
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the second kind of mind-blowing experience that I've had, and it's very humbling. So we knew this woman. I forget her name right now. And she was new to Twitch. Like, she'd kind of like been on Twitch a little bit, but she found her way to our channel, right? And she got really into it for about a few weeks, right? She's like, oh, like I'm here. Like, she didn't know what any of the things were, but it's okay. We all help, right? Like, she didn't know what PowerPoints were. Like, oh, this is our thing, right? And so she shared stuff about herself. She was like, oh, I'm looking for a job right now, and this is where I'm at in life. I'm into makeup, and I kind of want to do like a streamer thing. And so we got to learn about her, and she's wonderful. And then we would see her as we streamed, right? And so one day she comes into chat, and we recognize that she's there, and we ask how things are going. And it turns out that day, so she had a really important job interview. She got in her car. She was going down the freeway. Her car broke down. She had to like call a tow truck. She missed her job interview. She couldn't get home in time. Like, her day was one of those just motherfuck you days, right? It was the fucker of a fucker day. Like, no one wants to have days like that, but that's human. That's how it happens sometimes, right? And where did she find herself at the end of all that? She came to spend time with us. She came into our chat. Like, she could have been anywhere. She could have been eating like 10 pounds of bonbons with, slip and slides of ice cream. Who knows, right? She could have been doing anything else. But the thing that she decided she wanted to do is she wanted to come and say hello and just share and just be recognized. And, when you're a streamer and you don't know who's watching, you don't know who comes through, and sometimes people say hello, but you represent so much more to people in the way that you develop your relationships, the way that you develop your content. And I forget that sometimes. We all forget that. And that it's very humbling to be a place that provides a service where someone's like, I can have a motherfucker of a day and I can walk through the door of this Twitch channel and people are going to recognize me. We're going to have a good time and I can just be myself. I can share that I had a shit day and we move on and we do the best we can. Right. And those are two big, like, you know, kind of mind blowing experiences that I've had. I've had plenty more, but those are the ones that come to mind.
I felt you on the RDR.
Yeah, I saw you there, man. It was intense. They were really good. And the thing is, my dad being a cowboy, I grew up, you know, with 7 horses. I shoveled horse shit and cleaned stalls and shoed horses and saddled them and rode them and hitched them to wagons. So, you know, like my dad grew up in the wrong era, about 100 years too late. And he drugged me. You know, I'm a video game kid, right? But that was kind of the way he bonded with me. And so it also hit me. It hit me in an extra special sweet spot because not only did these things happen, but the aesthetic, the backdrop was like, oh shit, this is also a piece of my childhood to some degree, right? I'd open the door and we'd have a herd of fucking cows like hanging out in our back area, not our cows, you know. So like you drive them off your property, you know, stuff like that. So it was also twofold. So I hear you there. Thanks for sharing, Johnny.
So Johnny, do you have your question ready for Dr. Bosskey?
So this is going to be like a really weird question, but I get a question for this. So I know sometimes when you like get a project done, like what is your like exact feeling about that? Like when you get a project done, are you happy that it's done, or do you go, finally? Because I have been there, bro.
Yeah, that's a good question. So having completed a lot of projects over both professionally and personally, there is the excitement that you're finishing the project, but there is the anxiety that you don't know how it's going to be received. You know, like you never know. You get so close to something, you lose perspective. And then there's just nothing is ever really done, right? Like I think there's a really great quote that I forget that I read somewhere, which is basically that it basically says that all a finished project is something that you've beaten so much and you've left behind, and that's what's left. You know, like you could always beat it more. Like there's no perfect project. You can actually spend too much time on a project tinkering with it and actually ruin the project where you probably should have stopped. So it's kind of a mixture of those two things. One, the relief of, you know, of being close to being done, the anxiety of like what's going to happen next, because projects, depending on how much time they take, you know, they wind up having an effect on just your life and the people around you. You know, when I'm in the middle of crunching through a video game project, right? Like my loved ones, you know, when you're working 60 hours a week, they're like, okay, cool. We'll have dinner sometimes. And, you know, like we'll spend a little bit of time together here and there, but there's not much time left. So, and then there's the creative side, right? Which is, I've never finished a project and felt like it was 100% complete. It could always been better. Could have had more bugs fixed. It could have been a better design. It needed more iteration and testing, you know. And that's why, like I mentioned earlier, when I did the Don't Forget Chill Vibes, basically that in finishing that I gave myself a 2-hour challenge, right? Because I knew there's already a piece of me that was like, okay, cool, we're gonna do a music video. Let's figure out all these things, get the footage together. And I knew that I could have easily spent 3 days, 4 days, a week, 2 weeks. Like I could have noodled on that thing forever. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me do what I call like these little skill challenges. They're just little pet projects where it's like, all right, 2 hours. And at the end of that, like you know, you only have so much for research, you only have so much for execution, and then to get things rendered out. And then you're like, okay, time's ticking. Like not, you know, like let's actually close and then move on. And it turns out that while I wanted to spend more time on that project, I was actually overall happy with kind of what it actually wound up being for the stream. So
I feel it.
Thanks for joining us, Johnny.
No problem. Another question: Have you ever gone through like a kind of like that mental state of like trying to start Twitch?
Oh yeah,
because I know
dude, every time, every day feels like that. I mean, look. There's a little piece of me last night that said, fuck, I got to do this podcast. That's just human nature. Like I personally, I try not to make as many plans as possible for the future because I don't like looking forward to them. Some of it could be unhealthy, right? But I've always been, like I've always drug my feet getting to the party. When I'm at the party, shit, we're having a great time. I don't know why I was even like, and the reason why I was dragging my feet about getting to the party is because I could have been doing something else that wasn't a have to. I'm the type of person that doesn't want to have to. Like you have to, yeah. We'll see about that, huh? Like, that's a big piece of my DNA.
Anxiety fighting.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. And so one of the things that I think has been really, really helpful for me is that by setting a schedule and by like committing to like, and sometimes things happen, right? But by committing to like, hey, we're going live. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, 8 p.m. PST. Like butts and seats, away we go. I try to do a couple things. So one is I try to minimize the amount of changes that have taken place to whatever it is I need to do the show between the last show and the show. Like I always give myself ample time because you don't, like you always have to check. Did Streamlabs get an update? Did you take a Windows update? Does it are your devices unmapped now? Like, does chat work? Do you have to re-off? Like, is something broken and you have to troubleshoot it? Did they screw up my, my video input source? Like, on and on and on it goes. Even before you can even get to like, okay, the show's live and here we go, right? So, try to create a routine, like a little checklist, a little mental checklist. Okay, cool. Check the audio, check the visuals, check the video playback, check your video source for your stream. Make sure that you're listening to your Twitch stream, so when you go live, you can hear your own vocals and audio. Make sure everything's good there, because sometimes things break, right? And then I think more on the force of willpower side is, by making a commitment and then having to actively break the commitment because life. At least at that point, you're reflecting on you breaking the commitment. If you decide never to have a consistent commitment, then whenever you break it, it doesn't matter because you weren't consistent to begin with. And so that helps keep me like coming back, because I'm like, I committed to people that Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday. And, I'm very humble and I'm very lucky that people show up and we do it by appointment, and I've tweaked and tuned my schedule quite a bit, right? I used to stream 4 days a week. And streaming 3 days a week, because it's all burn, right? Like when you have a part-time job as a streamer, right? So I've got art reviews, I've got audio reviews, video reviews, marketing. Like I set these things up every week, and there isn't a day that I don't have something to do, some kind of thing, either for my day job or for my show, right? And I recognize that, like this is a little too full. It's extra full for me, and it terrifies me in a lot of ways. And I think that one of the ways that I deal with that is that I try to keep things in a, I've got my calendar, it's all blocked out. I've got my reminders that help put my butt in place. And anytime that something is happening, like I have priorities, the stream is on the list of priorities, but it's not the highest. Anytime something is higher than that, I have to then actively, I reach out to Elrock and the team, and I'm like, oh, hey guys, on Discord, I'm like, we can't do the show tonight, and I feel the burden of breaking my commitment, even if it's a good reason, but that helps me, it helps stay the line, right? Because if you don't have some kind of outward commitment to people and to yourself, then it's hard to hold yourself accountable for that. And some of it too, right, is at the end of last year, I think, I really didn't take any time off from streaming. I would have time off from day job, and then I would stream like normal, and then I would go back to day job, and I was like, damn, I feel like I'm more rested, but there's something else going on here, because I still feel like I haven't recharged completely. And I was like, oh yeah, you're being a dumbass, and essentially like the stream, even though it's a hobby, is also work, right? It's your mental fortitude to push forward, and every time you do a show, that is you pushing forward, right? And so a couple things that help in that, right, is dialing your time. Like, how much time do you want your show to be? I think it's crazy and wonderful that we have streamers that are like, I can do 24-hour shows, I'll do 10-hour shows, I'll do 12-hour shows, I will do long Herculean shows. I mean, there are only so many hours in any given day. And I've had long streams, but you know, long streams every day, 7 days a week, you're going to have burnout at some point. And when you burn out that hard because you've overdone it, hobby or not, it makes it so much harder to recover. You don't come back from a burnout in a day. You know, like one of my really favorite streamers, Sarah Jazz, she's fantastic. And she goes hard. She's got amazing uncomfortable comedy. She does skits. She plays music. Like, she just goes hard, and she's amazing. She's a small streamer in that like 50 to 150 range. And she basically, towards the end of last year, she just totally hit a wall. Crazy burnout. She was pushing way too hard. And it took her a couple weeks, and still took her longer, even in her own mental space, to come back from that. So it's always a, you know, we're all chasing our goals, we're all chasing our dreams, we all want to like be that next thing. But if you don't find a balance, then every time you make the commitment, you're draining yourself just a little bit more and a little more until it becomes too hard. And now you've burned out, and now you run into that situation where it's like, okay, no two people are the same. Whatever you do to get back to your happy place, your emotionally well-being place. You know, for me, I go deep into games and basically tell the world to fuck off, right? Like, I'm like, all right, I need me time, not stream time, none of these things. And sometimes it takes more than a day, right? And so I realized that I become more out of phase with what I can maintain. And so one of the reasons why I came to my particular schedule is that it's a commitment that I can make more often than not. There are some other things that change in life, but finding that is huge, right? And I know people that really want to achieve and become more, like they will do it. Like, we're all gamers mostly, right? So we're all min-maxers. We're all about like turning that dial as much as possible, which also means we're all burnouters, right? Like, like so, and that's a tough thing to I think balance. And that's my suggestion is, look at for me personally, I look at my schedule. I look at my streams. I think there are things that we get to do. You guys correct me, Z and Elrock. I think one of the reasons why our community can lean forward and can go and chat and be excited and go hype and be welcoming, I think it's partially also because we're not doing 10-hour streams, right? Like, we show up by appointment. People get excited about wanting to come and be part of that. And I found things that I didn't expect to find that are actually better for our style of stream and our culture and our community that I didn't expect. So even by trying to balance these things and changing them to make sure you can show up and do it, you actually, you should run the experiments and just see. There's a lot more, but I think that's my ramble.
I think that's the best advice, actually. That was actually really good. See, me, I'm trying to go to this government school so I can go and become a firefighter. And I just got to get my priorities straight, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Because this government school is just it's taking its patient time, because it's the government, bro. It's just taking its patient time because of COVID. Yeah. And that's another thing to worry about, bro.
Yeah, go for it.
And just gotta like start making skills for myself and everything so I can actually like get back on track. Because right now I'm just in a like I would say deep in. I guess I'm like waiting for like a ship out date. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. But I'll be like, it's gonna be weird. But I gotta like, I'm doing things on like Discord and stuff. Like I've been trying to improve on my singing and everything.
A couple things to unpack that, right? So one, it's good that you're recognizing that you have things that are kind of stalling you out right now and that you're in a holding pattern for. It makes it hard to commit to things past that, but it helps you understand that, okay, like you got this thing coming. It doesn't need daily agony, right? Like, so then that gives you the opportunity to be able to have a chunk of time to focus. on your other endeavors, and or to bring those endeavors up to a point where you know that when it does pop and you have to do the next thing, if you go and, you know, school lights up and whatnot, or ship out, you know, that then you can try to attempt to work on things that get you to a good stopping point. Like for me in software development, right, and managing teams, one of the things that I always find important, right, is, you know, when you're an engineer writing code, or an artist creating a character, or rigging, whatever your profession is, right, you know, if shit is really hitting the fan, you can come over and be full on interrupt. Stop whatever you're doing. We got this thing that's going crazy. I need all hands on deck for this thing, right? Now, what happens is that when you rip people out of this space, it takes time to get back into the space again, you know, even if you just communicate with them, to then finish the project. So I like to think about, one of the things for me is like, hey, we can stop everything right now, but what also is there a good stopping point for you? So you're like, oh, like if I just rig this character, then I can come back to animation, so I need another day or two. So it's like, okay, we can probably make that work, right? Or whatever the conversation winds up being. But there's a cost to that, right? And I think that's one of the things I really like. I like thinking about when I'm working on my own projects. So when I have stuff I know that's impending, I try to take things take things to a point where I can reconnect with them without having to spend as much time rebooting whatever I need to get back into that process.
So now we're moving to
one of the questions I really wanted to ask for a while is, what inspired you? Like, who is your inspiration to do everything you do?
That's a big question. It's a very big question. Well, I'm pretty sure it was Iron Tooth. Yeah. No, I guess it wasn't Iron Tooth. Okay, so something core about me, right, is that when I try to learn something new, I often just dive into the thing, and then I don't know, like, one of the hardest things about learning something new is trying to understand how to ask questions, right? Like, as you build up your knowledge base and you understand terms and terminology, you know, the quality of your questions get better, and that can help lead you to the next thing, right? You know, it's like when I sit down to do an animation, you know, like I learned After Effects, and you know, one of the processes I naturally go through, and I don't know if this is just the way I do it, right? Like, I haven't necessarily learned it necessarily from other people, but you know, like, it may not be too, I mean, it might be its thing, so whatever. I imagine what I want the scene to be, and then, you know, I've already worked with my artist, and I've worked with my animator, and I've worked with my producer, right? And trying to understand what I want to get out of the scene, right? Like, oh, are we going to have pieces of Gondis that are going to swirl around in this like crazy spell, right? And how are we going to do that? So I know I want the pieces, and I plan as much for that. And then one of the other things that's important, right, is I don't necessarily know how to do everything before I do it. So giving yourself opportunity to research and to realize that sometimes what you want to achieve, there's different levels of effort to achieve it. So, you know, and you then wind up modifying based on your knowledge as you're starting to learn the new thing or the new technique or the new process. And you learn that things where you start and where you end wind up being in two different places. And sometimes that's just being able to, I think, part of it's being flexible. Like, anyone can be like, it needs to be this at all costs. And if it's going to be that at all costs, well, it's going to cost you a lot in some cases. So you have to have an intelligent conversation with yourself about what you're achieving, right? So that's one thing in terms of inspiration. And I think that, you know, when I decide I want to do something, right? Like, now I'm into animation, right? But I'm not into traditional animation. I'm into like effects style animation, and not necessarily character like animation. I've got a character animator, understanding like the amount of human effort it takes to animate a character, like even to to do, I think, like one of these, right? I'm showing this on stream. Like if I were to try to do that on my own, it would take me weeks and weeks, if I could even achieve it, to get the character animation done. Just for the what I call the combat idle and the combat attack, right? I'm definitely not great at that. But I'm inspired by, fighting games. That's partly where this comes from, right? So Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, like I grew up playing Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighters after that, right? I played a boatload of Tekken. And so there's, like Guilty Gear, there's a bunch of things there where I take inspiration from work that already exists out there that I've both played with and been very close to. And then when I start to build it for myself, I come back and then really start to like investigate. In the case of like combat animations, combat idle animations and combat attacks, what is it that I really like from these fighting games? Like when you play a Street Fighter game, there's not a lot of frames of animation, but they managed to really get it in not 2D, not 3D in this case, but they managed to create a sense of like kinetic energy when the character is going through like their default fighting pose animation, right? And so taking that and that love and that kind of looking at, not only did I love it from afar, but like starting to investigate in a more specific range of looking at the material, and then being able to like share both those things with my animator, and then to iterate to really reach this kind of like these animations that we're reaching. A lot of that inspiration comes from the collaboration, but also the work all around me. And I think when like I've been doing these animated shorts, this is a huge stretch for me. Like I've never really done anything quite like this. And now what I find myself, like I was just watching a documentary the other night on Hayao. Who's the director again for Ghibli Studios? For like Princess Mononoke and Toro. But anyways, he's in my brain right there, but I can't think of his name. But I was watching this documentary the other night on this, and I was like, oh, when you take on special projects, when you're like, I want to do this thing, and as long as you don't tear yourself down about it, because everyone's got to start somewhere. Everyone is terrible when they start. You can't let that stop you, right? What happens is there's an actual phenomena that happens. I forget what they call it, but basically it's like when you buy a new car, right? You're like, I'm going to get a Lexus or a VW Bug or whatever, right? All of a sudden, when you're out in the world now, right? You see VW Bugs everywhere. You're like, oh, I didn't realize there are these many that are out there, or these many Lexuses. Like, there's more than I thought, right? And it's and we can look it up, but basically the concept is that, you have essentially, you have a bias in your perception. So the things that you come close, you bring close to you, that you spend time on, are automatically what your mind starts identifying, because we all live in a sea of information when we perceive things, right? So now I find that every animation I look at, every video game cutscene, every like motion still animation, everything that's sort of similar to the style that I've been developing for our animated shorts, I see it everywhere. And then all of a sudden my brain stops into like, ooh, how did they do that? That's a neat technique. Ooh, that's cool. Oh, look what they do with that camera shot. My brain just starts to pull it apart. And that becomes this new level of like education. So I think that the key is there's part of just studying like the greats, right? Like like if you find work that you really like, go and just spend a lot of time immersing yourself with that. So that's the general side of it. Now on the streaming side, there was this wonderful streamer. His name was Hello Biff. He doesn't stream as much these days, but we had a really good run. And I'll have to tell you, like, so Hello Biff, basically, super sweet dude. Like he's a don't give too many fucks kind of guy, which is cool, right? Like he's very much into giving people a place just to be themselves, like being human to each other, trying to be good to each other, right? Positive, good mojo. He had this time travelers theme from Back to the Future. That was kind of his thing, right? And he was a full-time streamer. He was partnered, and he was one of the first streamers that I found. And I found him through another buddy, where I would hop on Twitch when I was trying to like become more of the viewer and streamer that I wanted to be. I'd hop on Twitch and I would be like, oh, I want to go see Hello Biff. and I'd look over on the left panel, and I'd be like, oh, he's not streaming right now. First streamer that ever did that to me. Like I was like, oh, I can't have him whenever I want him. I could have his VOD, sure, right? But I finally, like, he cracked the live nugget for me in that respect, right? And in his community, he was very much into like welcoming people in, saying goodbye to people when they leave, you know, appreciating people for being there. And a lot of the DNA of our show comes from the inspiration. And so, one of the things I've personally done is, again, who you surround yourself with, right, is important for your own education. You know, you got to go out and get it. And so with Hello Biff, I was very lucky that he was giving, like, he always felt silly about it, but he was giving like coaching sessions. So I jumped on his Patreon. I was like, here's a little bit of money, and then we would just do a call, you know, once a month. And we did that for almost 2 years. And the thing is like, you know, he would learn a lot from me and the stuff I was going through, right? Like, and he was like, I don't know if, you know, if you don't want to pay for this, it's okay. He's a very, very humble guy, very super cool. And, I was like, look, dude, a couple things. One is I really appreciate you as a streamer. I was a core piece of his community. I supported his community. I love showing up and causing it. Like, I kind of go, like, my own style is, I sometimes hijack and start hype trains and go a little crazy. Like, that happens. The Wicked Sinner might be able to tell you something about that on occasion. And, as I explained to him, I said, one, you're a guy that I really appreciate. And we can't have conversations during your show about your show, you know, because we're all running shows and there's a behind the scenes, there's a making of kind of thing, right? And until you kind of see what each other's secret sauce is and the way they think about it, where they can just have good conversations about the show without having to be in show mode, there's a whole level of education you get just by being there. For me personally, I'm in a place where I'm lucky enough to be able to pay someone for their time. Huge, right? That helps quite a bit. If you're not in that place financially, then remember, we all work in a different level of trade, right? Like, hey, I know this, or I can do this, or this, and in exchange, can we spend time doing a call like once a month? And during those calls, sometimes there'd just be bitch fests. Sometimes it'd be like, oh, I've got fears about this thing, and I'm trying this thing creatively, and these things aren't working, and then these things are that. And at the end of the day, it's like I can only bug my friends, my personal people. I can only like talk about streaming so much with them without boring them to tears, right? Because relationships are two-way streets, and if you're really excited about your grind and things you're going towards, you want to be respectful of that and always have time for the people that you spend time with, the opportunity to to interact with you about other things than that. Otherwise, like the conversations get stale. And so I recognized that, and it was really wonderful that he was in a place where he could provide that service for me. So that was both an example of like someone that I identified that was already operating at a level that I want to be at. Like he's in that 50 to 150 kind of range, average viewer range. His just the way he went about. I mean, we wouldn't have hype videos if it wasn't for Hello Biff, right? We wouldn't have Nordmead. Like I saw those things. I got inspired. We did our own versions of them and rules for those things. And, he was very cool. He would come and lurk my streams. Like, he didn't want to make a big deal out of that. And, he'd give me feedback, as we progressed in our relationship. So that's something that I would highly encourage people to remember. Like when you're out there trying to achieve those next level results, that those are some of the mechanisms that we all have, at our fingertips to I think further our own education. That good?
I think Bryson has his last question and he had to go. So,
okay, hit me.
My last question. What is your Twitch goal? Well, your next goal, like in viewers or subscribers or bits or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's not super popular. There are other reasons for this. We're very lucky. We grow week after week. I think, our next big Twitch goal is... This probably sounds a little hammy, so I apologize. It's just the way I think about things. So I want us to continue let me back up a little bit. So last year, I met a nice dude on Twitch. Has a bit of a marketing background, bit of sales background, and so we brought him into the team, right? And we kind of showed him our secret sauce, and he went through like our strategies of like, oh, this is what we're doing to grow. This is what we're doing to be more interactive on our socials. This is what we're doing to have just better run shows. This is what we're doing to create, better raid experiences. And he, as part of that, part of the charter, part of the thing I gave to him, I was like, hey, I want you to digest what we have, and then I want you to help me define the next level of that strategy, right? And so he cranked on this for a few weeks as well, and something came back and from him, and that I'd already been. This was Q3 last year-ish, maybe. So we were pretty deep into streaming at that point. Well, not quite 2 years, but we'd met a lot of people, right? And so this guy, on behalf, like we call him our hype man, right? His name's Tony TM. And he went through my entire lurk list, like everyone that we, for the most part, support. Are known by, or that we spend time with, and then he just kind of reevaluated that, like, are the people we supporting, are they supporting us back? What do they think about us? Like, how do they feel? And I think that the reason why I share that is because I had this benefit of seeing what people thought and felt about the DrBossKey show through his eyes. Like, he went and collected this information. And it reaffirmed that we have a wholesome brand, like we can be Muppets kind of dirty here and there, but we try to be a bit more wholesome. Like, we like to be about good vibes. We like to support people and make sure that that they know that they're supported, right? We have our stream lurkers list and a bunch of other things that we do. We try to make the effort. It's very hard as a streamer. They say network, right? Well, just making sure you're a lurker and popping up and being able to spend a little bit of time, that's huge. We only ever have so much time. So the thing is that by seeing that gave me basically the understanding of what our next big Twitch goal is, right? And our next big Twitch goal is to make sure that everyone that we spend time with, that they get the opportunity to recognize that we try to be wholesome, that we're vibalicious, that we want to be lean forward, and we want to be a place that provides happiness and smiles for folks. Like, people should be able to trust that when they drop by, that we're like, we're making it happen. Like, this is our little corner of the internet, and it's a pretty lit party, as my buddy Duty Beard would say, and he's a partnered streamer, in that like 70 to 150 range, sometimes higher. But as he'd say, like the Duty Beard community is the hottest Twitch party on Twitch, bar none. Like, they're going hard all the time. It's crazy. It's metal, right? Like, and he's like, but the Dr. Hoodians, when they come through here, man, they blow this bitch up. Like, we're just, like when we show up, that's how we want to be recognized. So our biggest goal is to double down on what our experience is, what our community is, be genuine to ourselves, and to just share that outwards. And from that, we'll see what happens. I mean, I try not to put like a lot of goals on numbers and partner and things like that. I genuinely want to be authentic in what we offer to our streaming and community experience.
Oh, we have a question from chat.
Yeah, hit me.
This is from Dauntless Queen. So, DrBossKey, my question for you is, what makes you unique among these streamers that make viewers stick with you all throughout your stream?
What makes me unique amongst streamers that encourages viewers to stick with me over the long haul? That's a good question. I think, I think there's this phenomena that happens, right? I have now spent, as a streamer, I've now spent hundreds and hundreds of hours with some folks. People like Zayflin, Z, Ella Rock, Lindon. Like, we have this core community. And, babies have been had, disasters have been survived, tsunamis have happened, we have made memories together. Like, you know, Zarek, who surfs, likes to get stung by a horde of jellyfish every so often. Like, he's bashed himself on coral reefs. Elrock was sick last week, you know, like, you know, she went through her own things in life. Like, she's restarting her business, you know, with baking. You know, like, I think, in some ways, right, when you spend this kind of time with people, this is like the new age of you know, Twitch streaming community best friends, right? Like, I'm a facilitator of space time, you know, and because we capture our show and we do our just chatting clips, like, our, you know, I always try to read chat and we answer questions together. And, you know, if you go back and look at our VODs, you're part of it, you know, like, you, the viewer, you know, it's different for people. And I think that, you know, I can't remember everything for sure, but I think that as we spend time together, we've clocked a lot of time. And, you know, I think that is remarkable. And that's why I think a lot of, like, Twitch, a lot of viewers, you know, like, so Twitch culture, right, has gone, if you listen to the older streamers, you know, Twitch culture from 3-4 years ago, there are a lot more people that chatted. These are all perceptions, so it may not be true. There are a lot more people that would lean forward and just interact and be there. And over the last few years, you know, and I get it too, right? Like, people are leaning back more. They're lurking. They're doing their other thing while their show was on, right? They're like, oh, I like the streamer, but I don't necessarily, you know, I want to do other things other than just be a butt in the seat chatting and being there, right? So, and there are lots of different reasons for this, you know. And I think, you know, I think one of the things that encourages viewers to stick around is because, you know, like, we're becoming better friends, you know, like, when you come back to hang out, and, you know, whether you hit the sub button again, or you hit the follow age command, or whatever it is, you know, like, we care enough about, you're looking for a job, you know, this is what's going on with the life. These are your children, right? Like, this is where you live. Like, anything you share, we try our best to remember as a community. I remember as a streamer, because I look at our viewers as folks, especially as they put in more and more time, they become permanent parts of my brain and part of the show, right? And I think, you know, maybe another little small piece of that, right, is, so we had, his name was Rolly Boy, and he used to be part of our community with his daughter as well. And Rolly Boy is about 65, 67 years old. Pretty old dude, right? But he found his way to Twitch, and basically he basically called it, like, Grandpa's fuck off time. Like, okay, Grandpa's gonna do his thing. Like, leave Grandpa alone so he can smoke a cigarette or do whatever he needed to do, and just have this commitment, this appointment to be part of the show. And he was fully on board in our community, right? He'd submit like social stream submissions. Like, we know that, you know, he used to be in advertising. He's an artist. Like, all these, you know, he's got 2 grandkids. Like, his daughter wrecked the car. Like, you know, all these things that happen, right? And then one day, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, maybe, his health turned, and he wasn't able to do the same thing that he was doing. And he let us know. He's like, hey, I've got health issues and other things going on with family. I won't be able to make the show anymore, at least for the near term. And, you know, I think, I know, a few weeks ago, I'd asked Z. I was like, hey, Z, can you reach out to Rolly Boy and just make sure he's okay? He's not dead, how things are going. Because when we do, you know, like, maybe I can explain like this, right? So, one second. So, for those of you who are watching that don't know, so up here in the upper right-hand corner, those are all social to stream submissions. So these are images that people have submitted, right? So that's someone's cat, you know, like, I don't always remember them all, you know, but these are, like, often, like, whatever we're going through, whatever we're spending time with. There's a lot of, like, kitty silly stuff, like, but right there's our friend, right? Like, Denisha hates you, like, you know, and so it's, you know, there's when we're playing Ghost of Tsushima. So we also have things that I started a long time ago that I didn't realize were going to also help us clock space time, you know, like, and I guess maybe the long version of that answer is that people stick around because we become better friends over time. Wicked Sinner has been a huge supporter. He's a fantastic streamer, and he's getting back into the streamer game, and he's going through stuff in life, and I don't know all the details, but I know it. I remember when he stubbed his toe and like broke off his toenail.
Cheer one, 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 cheer one. Cheer one, cheer one, cheer one, cheer one, cheer one, cheer one, cheer one.
Thanks, Bryce, for those cheer ones, those sweet, sweet biddies, 62 bitterinos. Much appreciated. Yeah, so that's basically the answer. And it's crazy. I couldn't have told you that this was going to be what it is now, 2 years ago. Thank you for those 27 bits on top of it. What's next?
Well, I do have to go. So
All right.
thank you for your time and being here.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Nerdy, for inviting me to this. This is exciting for me. Thank you. Bye.
You're quite welcome.
Good night.
Chad, please let Bryson know how we feel about him. Give us some of those TTFNs. Some Tata for nows. Triforce, thank you for subscribing. 7 months. Lucky 7 months. Man, so humbling. And for that tier 1 subscription. It's very, very kind of you. Triforce Thief. Amazing. Hit me.
We hit our 2 hour mark. So yeah, we have a couple of questions left, and if you want, we can do the mini game. I'm not sure if you want to.
I'm game. I'm streaming. I'm streaming normal after this. So.
Justin.
Okay. So, as we all know, you said you've got a full-time job and stuff like that, and you stream 4 days out of the week, 3 days.
Mm-hmm. 3.
Okay. As a person who does work full-time schedule, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, and stuff like that, how would you tell people, or how do you get it done? How would you explain to people what they should do to invest more in time management?
Yeah, okay. That's a great question. So it's very important. I want you guys to know this. So one of the ways I get it done is that I just don't have as much sex as I used to. I mean, it's very important. It's all about trade-offs, damn it. Yeah, so look, a big part of it is think about it like setting up a machine, right? So with our video editing pipeline, right, we have a whole process, and we sat down and we kicked off a couple versions of this, and then we worked that process, and we found bugs, and then we adjusted the process, and then we found some bugs and we adjusted the process, and now what we have is something that you can come back to without trying to figure out what the hell you were doing last, right? And so I think that the concept is where possible, you want to think about setting up whatever it is you need to do. You want to think about setting it up as like a machine that you don't have to touch as often. You maybe need to put stuff into it and stuff comes out of it, but that's a big part of it, right? So and it certainly, like as I kind of alluded to before, right, it takes a team. Even if I were doing this just full time all by myself, I don't know if I'd want to do it all by myself. I think you want to find people that want to help you, and trade with them. So that's also a huge part, right? Like Ellerock makes sure that our socials go out, right? Like and that we schedule all of all of our posts a week at a time, right? If I took the opportunity to or if we took and decided to upload videos every day and we did it manually the whole time, that's going to take more time to do that. So a lot of YouTubers will tell you this, right? So a big part of streaming with live and whatnot, but a big part of being successful with YouTube is you sit down and you create a bulk of your contents in reserve, and then you schedule those episodes at whatever your time is, right? And you get efficiencies by putting yourself in the mindset of like, okay, cool, we went out, we got all of our shoots for our episode, we got all our content together, we did all these things, and now you're going to sit down and go and edit through it, you know, and get your B-roll and all that. Like if you're doing it all at one time, then you have an efficiency of doing the same task. It's basically bulk processing, right? So anytime you can set up chunks of time for you to do, and then have the outputs of the thing that you did, and have that scheduled for at least, you know, like for us, for video scheduling and social posts are a week in advance. So then once we've done it for the, you know, I don't know, Elrock, do you know, how, like when you schedule our weekly posts, like how much time that takes you?
Oh, it takes me about an hour to
Yeah.
schedule a week's post.
Okay, cool.
On all channels.
Yep, awesome. Yeah, so I mean, it's a perfect example, right? We've got the content, and then instead of Elrock essentially having to go, okay, it's Tuesday, what are we going to post? Oh, it's Wednesday, what are we going to post? And like going through that process, we set it all up. We know what things we're going to post on each day of the week. And then we basically schedule it all on Bufferly. And then that goes out to all our socials. And then all we do from there is then we check our socials as the posts drop, and we tweak and tune that, but we do that a week at a time. So that's pretty huge, right? The other, I think, important tip is try your best. Like you got to, and I hate this. I hate this tip. This tip sucks so hard, but I had to acquiesce. And you have to go through your life and you have to say, okay, what's important? You know, like first of all, job, pretty damn important, right? Like keeps the lights on, keeps the rent paid, keeps the family fed, right? Like that's number one. How much time does the job take? You know, and then you got to think about that as a time block, you know, experience. And then it's like, okay, family. You know, I'm very lucky. My son's 26 years old. I'm level 44. On the 24th of this month. So, you know, I don't have a ton of needing to be at a specific time for dinner and need to make dinner, and you know, like I have a little bit more time that I can reinvest into like the creative things or other bits or the show, right? So, but for people that don't, you got to look at how much time do you have for family and your relationships, and how much time do you need to just decompress and relax, right? Like you need to be able to think about these things as in terms of schedules, right? And then you need to set up a routine. Like I can tell you that, you know, every Monday we go through our video editing pipeline. We talk about how much video content we have. So we just look at the numbers. We talk about our social engagements. How did we do for the last week? Did we get new followers, lose followers? How many posts, engagements? We make time for that. We use that as an opportunity to talk about any things or special projects that come up, because that happens, right? Nothing is always stagnant. And then, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's streaming day. You know, I only have a little bit of time between work and getting onto the stream. So I can tell you that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes Sunday those are the days that we block out to do art reviews. So when one of our artists or animators come back with art, one of the things that Zay does for me is she gives me a daily message where she checks our art boards to see if our artists need anything or if we're ready for for feedback. And we've crafted this over time. Again, me relying on other people to help get it all done, because it is it's pretty monstrous. But it also helps us set expectations for our artists and animators to realize, hey, if I turn in on if I turn on Tuesday, I'm not going to get feedback until Wednesday, maybe, usually. But depending on where they're at in time zone, like that might be another day. So it's like a 2-day, turnaround for them. So it helps them better understand, how to schedule their time. We give guidance for them, but that's another aspect of sort of time management. And then, here's the thing. This is probably the thing that kicks people in the butt the most. This is probably the super secret piece, right? Doesn't matter how you do it. People do it differently. But if you don't do it, it's going to bite you in the ass. So in its most simple form, you have a Google document. And in this Google document, this thing stays up in your browser or on your phone, wherever. It stays up all the time. And what you do is you take notes as they come to you throughout the day. You got an idea for your project, you're at work, well, just jam it down real quick and do your thing. Oh, Groovy Blue Hue, ready with a party of 18! Awesome. Welcome in. Elrock, will you do the welcoming? Thanks, guys. Everyone with the waving. And so you get your Google Doc, ongoing document, right? Date at the top, notes for the day, and you have just a couple things. One is you have a section
from LR0CH. Welcome Raiders.
Welcome Raiders. Thank you for being here, everybody. Groovy Blue Hue, we're in the middle of doing a very wonderful What the Hell Are We Doing podcast stream with Nerdy Albert and friends. And it's great that you guys are here. Thank you so much for that raid. And if you have any questions or anything, Ella Rock is catching them. And if you want to jump on Groovy and talk about anything, let us know. We'd love to have you here for you to answer a couple questions. And so your one sheet, right? This is how you stay organized. So at the top, you have stuff you need to do, right? Like whenever you have time to go back to your stream or your side project, whatever it is. Oh, Wagnus, dude, people are going crazy right now. Crazy. Wagnus, thank you for those 3 gifted subs. It's very, very kind to you. Much appreciated. So you've got your stuff you need to do, right, for your project. So whenever you're like, okay, cool, it's time to work on video editing. Boom, let me look at my one sheet. Where was I last? These are the next things I need to do for video editing. Unabated Bloom to the board. Thank you for that follow. Very, very kind of you guys. And so if you've taken your actions as far as you can and you need something from someone else and it needs to be a follow-up, then you have a separate section, generally by project, that's follow-up. These are the things you do. And every day that you are, I encourage you to have it up daily, but every day that is a new day, you copy the whole section up to the next date. So now you have a log of time. Holy shit. Quality over quantity 37. What a fantastic username. Thank you so much for that tier 1 subscription. Welcome to the Dr. Video. And so now you have your follow-ups, right? So as you look at every day, you're like, okay, cool. What are the next things I need to do to move this project forward? Did I capture them? And then the ones you did, strike out, get rid of. And then, you basically are always working on the list. And then you do that every day. And you build this habit. You can prepare your list at the end of the day. You're like, all right, before we unplug from all the stuff I want to do, I'm going to look at my list, copy it up for the next day, remove all the stuff that doesn't matter anymore, or annotate it for the next thing I need to do. Give yourself a little shorthand. So if you're like, oh, I need to check in with my emote artist to see where they're at with the reviews, like you can set yourself a little note. So when you look at this and you're like, all right, I only got an hour. Let me hit all the things I can do, right? And that at the basic level, there are producers that run entire video game projects with this method in mind, right? And there's other ways you can do it, but at its most simple form, that helps you to capture the actions, to make sure that you get stuff out of your head so it's not just floating around in your head. And it puts it into a place where then you can review them, do like the critical thinking in the morning, looking at the stuff you need to do, adding new stuff as you need it. And then you try your best to see how much you can get done for the day. And, it's like, okay, cool. I've got an hour. I want to try to get the top 3 things done, and like the things you don't go crazy over. Don't be sad that you're not getting it done. They just go to the next day, right? And because you're always pushing it forward. Does it make sense?
So Dr. Bosskey, yes, it makes sense. So Dr. Bosskey, so your next question is, what's your favorite animal, or what kind of pets do you like?
Favorite animal. I mean, I'm pretty partial to like bonobos. I mean, bonobo monkeys, right? Like in general, assuming we came from the monkeys, right? Like I got a lot of homage to pay there, right? And bonobos being able to, to be as sophisticated as they are with their social structure. And that's what I'm talking about with the Muppets. That I think that's something really cool about that. When it comes to pets, I'm a cat person, a dog person. I love horses. The horses are fantastic.
Maybe your cat?
She was deep in the other. She was basically sleeping in the closet in another room. Come on, baby. You want some treats? There we go. There we go. That's my sweet girl. Her name is Loki. By the way, This is Loki. That was pretty much what she was doing before we rustled her up with look, she's got sleepy eyes. With treats. This is also Loki. She's the Dr. Bosskey's sidekick. She normally hangs out with us. If we make too much noise, she basically, let's try that. She basically kind of like jumps down, decides she wants to sleep somewhere else. Yeah, it's my girl. It's my girl. Oh, that's so good. It's so weird. Normally I've got her on camera so I can see. Let's do the trick. This one's called Through the Tunnel. This one's Through the Tunnel. You're not fooling anyone. I know you want Through the Tunnel. Yeah. Stupid tricks for me. Keep me happy. Who's snoozing?
So yes, your next question. How does it feel working for Dr. Bosskey, Eleanor, and other producer?
Rock Z. You guys there?
Me personally,
Yes.
I'm
What's it like working with me?
I'm having fun doing every task because it's I don't even think of it as work. It's one of those things. That's why I started working with Dr. Bosskey. Is I also do have really I'm in love with games as well. I have a passion for it, and when we got to talk, one of the things that I told him is that you're gonna be my instrument for me to share my passion with games because I don't stream. And since he's streaming he's streaming, showing his love for games, and I really don't think that I'm working. I'm pretty much doing what I love as well, but behind the scenes.
Yeah, for me, it's really fun. I mean, I'm comfortable. Actually, I'm more comfortable like working at the back end, like behind the scenes too, and making sure that everything is, it's up and running. Like every day we have our own tasks, especially when it's stream day. So there's going to be some checking, audio checking, some transcodes, and since we've been doing this for like almost 2 years now, we like whenever we work together, it's just like a harmonious flow of everything. Like each and everyone at the back, and Zay, me, and Zirek, we already know what to do. So it's super fun, and I have like great people around me working with me. So hurrah.
That's awesome. I think that, and I appreciate that. I really do, guys. I've always thought about Twitch streaming as a show. It's a production. It's something we care about and we think about. It's something that we're crafting and developing. And like I said, it takes a team. It takes a group of people. I mean, all the mods that and I've been so lucky. I love meeting the mods almost as much as I love meeting the streamers. And I've seen it go sideways. I've seen streamers with that they start to take for granted the amount of time and effort that people put into them. It's very easy. It's very egocentric, when you're behind the camera and kind of it's your show and la la la. And I think that part of our job collectively is to try to bring our A game every time, right? Like when I turn on the camera and I turn on the lights and I sweat my ass off up here and we go crazy. We just try to do our best to improve the craft and to make a good, wholesome streaming experience for people to enjoy, and I think that one of the things that is really tough for me, right, is understanding that, when you want to be a streamer, you're so many things at that point. Not only yourself, but you're this performance art version of yourself. You're this collection of your interests. You're a DJ of social experience, or like of human experiences, right? You're also a community leader. Like you were the first face that people meet when they come in contact with with your show, with your stream, right? And it's it's different for everyone. It's a different journey, you know, and different skills, you know. And I was looking at the other day, right? Groovy Blue Hue, right? So Groovy is so sweet. We met her months and months ago, and we met her through Fat Crew Productions, right? Both wonderful streamers. And you know, I try to lurk both of them as much as possible, and you know, they're super cool. And Groovy the other day, she had a stream where she was outdoors building a snowman, right? And I was like, oh man, not only does this feel wholesome and Groovy's got her own thing, right? But like, seeing her provide that type of content reminded me what it's like to be a big brother, you know? And I told her that the other day, and I was just like, wow, like, you don't know how you reach people. You really don't, you know, but you know that every time that you turn on that camera and you try to do something, they're all grand experiments. And you know, it's like I said, it's one part entertainment, being an entertainer. It's one part, you know, like performance art. It's one part creative, right? Like so many things to so many different people. And I think that we're in a streaming culture now where anyone can stream. Anyone can stream anything. Like, you know, like the technical barrier, you know, to entry is so low, and it's only getting lower, right? And so that means that people are more comfortable broadcasting parts of themselves and their lives and how they connect around that. And that gives us new ways for us to I think share and exchange and create and continue to develop ourselves and community together.
Yeah, so Justin had a couple questions before we end off the podcast.
Okay.
And then you could do your motivational speech at the end.
Oh yeah, motivational speech.
Before anything else, I just wanted to also share this from Zay. I saw it in the chat. So Zay Flynn is also one of the super mods, and she says, working for DBK is therapeutic, informative, passionate, extremely fun, and sometimes you can ride his energy to the moon. Other times you have to put him on the moon, but it's always a great adventure.
That's very kind of you. I love you, Zay. Thank you. So with Zay, so here, check this out. This is Zayflin. So that's the animated kind of D&D imagined version of the character, if you will. Like maybe in that space, just to make it easier for people to understand. And once upon a time, you know, Zay can do art. She's never done any animation. And I was like, all right, Zay, if I can do animation, right? Like, and we had like, here's an example of one of the ones I've done, right? If I can do animation, I'm not anything super special, you know, I'm just learning to do this. I think we can do these style animations together. And so we've been working on these characters, and Zay has really stepped into helping me realize the visual style and building these animations out. So basically it's simplified animation with high quality VFX and some layering, some special like tweaking and tuning on that. So, and it's been amazing to be part of that journey with Zay, where she trusted me enough to help her get into the space, and it's paid off in spades. I mean, the channel, she's helped me realize, you know, like this stuff, that stuff that we're still delivering here is stuff we've been working on for forever, right? Like, I mean, since mid last year, sometimes early last year. I guess it actually goes back further than that now that I think about that, 2 years. So, all right.
Well, with all the success that you sound like you've had and stuff like that, we're all humans. So we've had failures. What's the worst failure you've had, and how did you learn from it?
What's the worst failure I've had, and what did I learn from it? Sounds like an interview question, like I'm getting a job. Let me think about this a little bit. Okay. All right. Here's a very human one. So, once upon a time, when I was younger, early 20s, I had gotten married. I was married to a wonderful Dominican woman. We met over the internet. We spent a good like 6 to 8 months, you know, getting to know each other. She came out to visit a few times, and then she took the plunge to basically leave her family, left everyone behind, and she came out to be with me. And I was game maker friends. We had a house we were sharing with some friends, and she was really fiery. We were crazy passionate. Different cultures, entirely different cultures. She was very Dominican Latin culture, right? Like there's a lot of a little bit more chauvinistic, daddy, fiery culture. There's other things that are wonderful. So those are just generalizations. So we lived together, and we honeymooned. We did all that good stuff. And then after about 6 or so months, our relationship was just going to shit. I mean, I was working 60 plus hours a week. She was very insecure about anything I would spend time on that wasn't her. And she told me in this moment, and this kind of quantifies, I think, the relationship. She told me, I came home one day, and I came into the kitchen, and then she'd said, because we're about ready to eat dinner, she's like, she was a little upset, but she gave me this pearl of wisdom, right? And she said, when I'm yelling at you about the towel not being on the rack correctly, or you used one of the designer towels, or you put the dish in the wrong thing, really what I'm trying to tell you is just grab a hold of me, spank me on the ass, hug me, and tell me it's gonna be okay. And I was a very young dude. I was like, fuck that, I don't need to be your daddy, la la la, like, but I got to understand a lot from that. And we wound up getting divorced at some point. She had her we got her citizenship, so we couldn't technically get, I mean, we could have, but I wasn't going to do that to her. So you have to do your 5 years to kind of get citizenship. And I think when I think about that relationship, like we got to the point where, like, I'd give her the double barrel fingers, right? Like, she'd give me the fuck yous, and like, I tried to teach her to drive because she was 24 years old, never drove a car, let alone in the States. And she would be the type of person that would drive and then look over at you and have a conversation for about 30 seconds without looking at the road. And I just white knuckled the dash, right? She also drove me off a freeway at 75 miles an hour into a swamp. That was everything turned out all right. But so here's the thing, right? I tried really hard in that relationship, and I learned so much about myself. But we got divorced. Our relationship failed, and I didn't think it was going to fail. We were desperately in love, and it was really hard. I threw myself deeply into work. We still remain friends to this day now. And we've fallen a little more out of touch over the years. But she's in a great place now. Like, she's learned a lot about what she wants and who she is as well. It was a very painful series of trying to understand ourselves, understand the things we wanted from a relationship, and even how to communicate. And I've learned a crazy amount about the relationship you have with yourself first. That's the first and foremost, most important relationship. If you're not right within what's going on with you, by the time you try to have a relationship with someone else, there's a lot of static that comes from that. There's a lot of just like, hey, what are we really talking about? Because it sounds like we're talking about like this, but there's something else going on, with either myself or yourself, that, there's a subtext to conversation, right? And there's a lot of stress that comes from people trying to have relationships where you're, it was amazing to join the marriage club, right? I was like, I made it, but I wasn't ready to have kids in the next couple of years. Like, I wasn't ready to necessarily start a brand new, like place to live. And there are things that I did not communicate very well about with that. And that created stress in our relationship too, right? She was looking for a different type of man than I actually was in a lot of ways. And I had to better understand that. And then challenge myself to realize, is what she wants what I want to be? And that's a relationship with yourself. And when you're spending a lot of time with someone, it's very hard to pull back and remember that you need to always have time for yourself in your own relationship. Like, you need to be able to get right with yourself, and that there's a lot of soul searching and meditation or whatever it is you do that helps give you space and time to like process and work through these things for yourself. So I consider it a big failure. I consider it one of my greatest successes. It was very tender and kind of crazy, and fiery, and we were crazy amounts of love. And but it's helped shape a lot of my life since, and I'm very grateful for that. That I wouldn't give as an answer to an interview question. Just for that.
Well, you didn't get the job. All right. So I guess we're going to go ahead and move on to the last and final segment now, which is the word game.
The word game. All right. What words are we playing with?
Nerdy, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Cheese whip.
So what game are we playing for everyone? And how do we play?
It's the same thing we did yesterday. So we
They
make a
don't know.
word, then at the end it's a sentence.
Yeah, so Nerdy, I think what you're trying to say, right, is that so we've got this word game we're going to play. So Nerdy is going to start by saying a word, and then we're going to go around through everyone in the call, and we're going to add words, and then at the end, I guess you're going to make a sentence, right? Yeah, so you make the sentence out of the words, and we just tell a tiny little story out of it. So super fun. All right, so then that's what we're going to play. We'll play a couple rounds of these. So the word was cheese whiz.
Yes.
And I will add, let's see here, whale.
Okay.
I will go ahead and add, let's see, cracker.
Let me go with village. That's for Zay.
Perfume.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right, Nerdy. Give us
What's the word? What was the word? Last word?
Perfume.
Perfume. Okay. Okay. The whale from the village ate cheese whiz from crackers that had perfume.
Perfume, whale, cheese, crackers. Make for big poops in the ocean.
Right. You're up next, Mr. Bosskey.
All right, so the word is Loki.
Justin.
I will go ahead and add rain.
I will add belly.
Wait, believe?
Belly.
Belly.
Oh,
Okay.
belly.
All right.
And smell.
Intestines.
Oh boy. Okay, so that was Loki, rain, belly, smell, intestines, right? Okay. Loki plummeted to the earth in a rainstorm. The thing is, all of his clothes blew off, exposing his godly belly, which smelled a little funky because he didn't realize his intestines were hanging out.
That's dark.
Well, I mean, you guys gave me intestines and smelly and belly. Godly belly. All right. Was that it?
Yeah, I think that was it.
We did it.
We did
And Nerdy's lagging a little bit.
Yeah, he's lagging a little bit.
Am I back? I'm back.
And you're back.
Yes. So let's have our little motivational speech and
Oh, that's right.
maybe one last question.
Okay, last question.
What skills do you think are useful from a producer, director, developer, gamer, comedian point of view?
Skills are useful for what? To be those things or
streaming?
Okay, so from my background, what skills do I find from a producer, designer, kind of director for streaming? Okay, that's a good question. Let's see here. So one, I think probably one of the things I'm most grateful for is that as a producer, it is my job to herd the cats, right? Hey cats, we're going this way. You know, like we're going to go up this mountain. And by the way, did anyone just buy their boots last week, right? Like, has anyone got new boots? Because that's going to be a red flag. They're going to need extra socks, right? Did we lose anyone on the mountain on the way up, right? So you know the type. It's the organizer, the person that essentially is like, okay, cool, let's make this thing happen. let's work on the details for making it happen. Let's gather all the people. You know, producing it basically is like, we want to reach this goal. Let's figure out as much as we can to accomplish this goal and make sure we hold each other accountable for that. And if we are not, I guess the other side of that is that then there's just execution, right? Like there's the day to day. Like we're going to go over here because it's easy to get lost. Like you start one thing and then you're like, oh, shiny squirrel, woo, right? You know, so you need someone that holds up the torch and does the daily firefighting. Like, oh, I'm stuck on this thing. I need to talk to someone over here to do this thing, right? Like, or what, before we go any further, I need to have a call on, are we using this character in this scene? Because if we are, then I need to think about that when I make this next segment, right? Like, so that from a production perspective, the getting together, the thinking on the project level, getting all the tasks together, and then holding people, responsible for executing. I think that's pretty important. So that basically translates to streaming with, your schedule, your creative endeavors, because inevitably when you stream, whatever you do, whatever the majority of the thing you do, it becomes more and more you, right? Like I spend probably a good 20 hours dedicated to the stream every week. And I've done that now for a couple of years. So what happens is that I think more and more like a person with streaming knowledge when I approach things, right? Like I had a friend the other day, and she works at a cat shelter, right? And I was like, oh, I had this epiphany. I was like, boom, holy shit. And I was like, we're at a point now where we could, because she knows how to stream. You could build a business where you approach all of these, across the US or whatever, all these cat shelters, and your business proposition is to set up streaming cameras, a streaming PC, and which she can do, and then give people the ability to log into these cameras and switch between them to see which kittens are available or which cats are there, right? And so you could improve the adoption of cats and the efficiency of the cat orphanage by doing that. And I was like, oh, like that totally came from me streaming. And then my brain started to think like, oh, hey, where else are we seeing the convergence of streaming, and what other businesses could we I think introduce this to? Like I have a wonderful friend. His name's Donut King TV. And he's fantastic. And his whole shtick is that he basically streams him doing his work at the donut shop. So he prepares all the donuts. He makes donuts, and people love it. Like he's just he's more in that 100 to 300 range usually. And he's grown like wildfire. And we love going to visit him at the end of a stream because, one, I'm hungry. Everyone's generally a little hungry, and it's great to see who doesn't love donuts for the most part, right? And because you have a dude in his own element, like just, he's jamming, he's talking a little bit, but he's doing the thing that he does. Like he's the craftsman here, right? So, and he's done it such a long time. It's partially an autopilot process, and he can talk about it and, be in this place. And as a result, it creates a wonderful place for people to come and chill, whenever they show up in his space. So it's primarily, he does other things, but, just chatting and things like that. So it's been fantastic to see. So you don't realize that when you're a streamer developing these, I think these skills from streaming, it's audio, it's tech, it's like one part hardware, one part software, it's part marketing, it's part social. Like, you wind up wearing so many hats becoming a streamer that then it affects other ideas. So I think the other side of that then is, for me, I don't know if I would have made animation had I not been streaming. I think there's a huge difference between, doing an animation and being able to push a button and have that be part of the stream world, as opposed to doing the animation, being done and going, okay, I guess I'll put it on Twitter or my portfolio, or, I don't want to be a professional animator. So I found that the crafting and tinkering and making of toys that I can share with my friends, I can tell these little stories about these characters and what's going on, and it's created additional places to be creative that I didn't expect. And so that has then reaffirmed and fueled some of my talents and desires to be a director. I can direct, aspects, animated shorts, stories, to practice voice acting. You know, like there's no limits at this point. And I found that being able to construct things like animation from games or UX design or flows or, you know, user experiences, like I've been able to bring those skills into being a streamer in ways that I never expected. And I'd probably want to say that everyone here does something, whether it's a day job, whether it's hobbies. Everyone here has something to share. And when you start to mix your passions together, you will find, you will find things that you will share that you never expected. It's a good example of this, right? So I read one of my things is I want to be a stand-up comedy someday. You know, like I'm a stand-up comedian, I should say, and do stand-up comedy. Maybe more as a streamer, but that's a different story. And so I read this book, Born Standing Up by Steve Martin. He's a fantastic comedian, actor. You know, he's an older dude at this point. And he was on he's on Letterman, or he's on some cool talk show, right? Like a late night talk show. It might have been, maybe it was Johnny Carson, something like that. But anyways, he's there, and he's been a few times, and he's there, and they're at commercial break, and basically the talk show host leans over to Steve Martin and he says, "You are going to use everything you have ever known," because he's an entertainer, right? He's a performer. I mean, this is all performance here. We are all performers right now, right? And he basically meant that any skill that Steve Martin had learned in his life, that's going to find a place in his pursuit of being an entertainer. And I that really resonated strongly with me. So I think all of it is there, and it's applicable to all of us.
That sounds amazing, Mr. Bosskey. But sadly, we ran out of time today to continue our stories.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for being on the What the Hell Are We Doing podcast. Everyone, go check out Dr. Bosskey. All the links are in the bottom in the description.
Awesome.
Amazing guy. Yeah, so let's hear your motivational speech.
Motivational speech. Okay. Motivational speech. Speech. Here's the thing. Life is hard. Life is not kind all the time. It's not easy. Nor do you want it to be all the time either, right? And I think that if anything that I could share with you, right, is when you have interests, if you find yourself being bored, figure out what that is and abandon that for something that you want to be interested in. It doesn't matter what it is, just go nerd out. Go commit yourself to diving deeper into this thing that you're interested in. Don't let your brain tell you you're not good enough. No one is good enough. No one has ever in the history of ever fallen out of bed and then become a master painter. When you see excellence around you by everyone, realize that these people you admire, these excellent people, none of them are overnight successes. These people are often people that have finally broken through, gotten lucky, gotten the opportunity by putting in a lot of hard work and effort, and a mixture of all those things have led them to where you finally have encountered them. And maybe it's different for different people, but I think if you do not pursue interests, everyone likes to say, "I'm not good at being creative." Well, no one's great at being creative, right? But if you don't practice, if you don't attempt, if you don't try, you have nothing to move forward from. And you have to keep that in mind because, everyone starts. And your mind and your people sometimes are going to try to tear you down. They're going to tell you you can't, that you shouldn't, that you should not, because they want to protect you and, keep you from being disappointed if you fail. But you know what? Life is failure. You have to fail. Everyone's going to fail. And when you do, it's an opportunity to learn and to push forward and to have war stories. Don't hide from the opportunity to go further, to go deeper, to find the things that you're interested in and to pursue them relentlessly. Find the people around you that are doing it at a level you want to do it at, and surround yourself with them. You can be successful. You can be so much more And you shouldn't wait for permission for people to tell you that it's time to do it. Because if you wait for that, it'll never come.
Bravo. That's amazing. Yes. So again, tell us where people can find you. All your URLs.
Well, if you want to find Dr. Bosskey, first start by typing in DrBossKey, DrBossKey, all one word, into Google. The first 3 search pages will return all of the goodies. And if you want to find Dr. Bosskey on all of our socials, it's whatever the social is /DrBossKey. If you find our Twitch channel, you find anything, everything is cross-linked. Streamers out there and friends, I went through this with Triforce Thief, right? If you want to be found, sometimes I try to connect to other streamers and their name on Twitter is different from their Instagram, is different from their YouTube, is different from their Twitch channel, and it's cross-referenced and sometimes not found. I only dig so far. Do yourself a favor whenever you go to brand yourself into whatever you're doing, co-opt it all across all your socials. Make sure you have the same name, same spelling, get it out there. And if you don't, move on and pick a new name.
Okay. Thank you for being on the podcast. What the Hell Are We Doing podcast, episode 11, creativity.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much. Thanks for the chase. Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure. Everyone else that's been out there and watching, thank you so much. Much appreciated. Much love. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a great night, guys.
Good night.
All right.
What the hell are we? See you guys.
What the hell are we doing?